30 seconds and counting. 25 seconds and counting. We are still go. 20 seconds. Guidance alert. The guidance system now going internal. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good, very early morning to my viewers in Europe and Africa. Late evening, perhaps even very early morning out here soon to most of the folks in the hemisphere. Good day, I think, for the Pacific Rim, and welcome to the Angry Astronauts, to this very critical moment in the history of spaceflight, assuming, of course, that things go as planned. There are many people who are talking about this launch as being inconsequential, given where Starship is right now, and I'm telling you, that is not the case. Okay, we are continuing to see what's going on with the audio. I don't know why this is continuing to be an issue, but in any event, uh, doing our best here. We will do our best. But I am right on top of this mic, and it could be that I'm just not close enough. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this sucker up to my mouth and see if that makes any difference whatsoever. Are we getting any difference in the sound of the any difference in the audio quality now? Okay, and once again, that just makes me wonder if fading in and out, this is the weirdest damn thing, and I have no idea why this has continued to be a problem, but I am going to have a look and see. Hold on for a moment. I'm gonna have a look and see if there's anything else that might have an impact on this, because with my mouth being this close to the audio source, yeah, I see that. It's showing I'm getting a reading, but nevertheless, it is not check, check. Yeah, it's not nearly loud enough, and yet showing that the audio source. Uh, Sorry, guys. I'm gonna do my best to try to rectify this situation. Um, this is ridiculous. Bear with me for just a moment here. Check, check. Probably gonna be even worse. Not getting anything here. Check, check, check. Check. Check, 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 check. We haven't any luck here at all, guys. This is truly absurd. I don't understand. We're gonna keep the show going. Once again, I apologize. Yeah, for a moment, again, that's what I get all the time. It sounds like I'm underwater, and I really have no idea as to why this is this is occurring, but nevertheless, we're going to do the best we can to try to keep this going. And once again, all I can say is I apologize, because checking I have on the correct audio source. I don't have any sort of gain to pull up here on the OBS. Oh, hold on, wait. Let's check here. Audio. Let's see if this makes any difference. Check, check, check. Any luck there? Did that improve anything at all? I just pushed up the gain a little bit. Are we having any luck at all there? I'd really like to fix this for you guys. Unfortunately, uh, just not having a lot of luck. Don't understand. Don't understand. Once again, I apologize. Just ugh. Okay, so having a little luck here, maybe. Okay, we might have might be a little bit better. We'll see. We'll see. Hey, now some folks just saying I'm sounding good. Some people saying I sound louder. I did actually adjust. There was a gain adjustment that I can make. So, okay, let's just go ahead and push on, guys. That's what we're going to be able to do. And bring you the best quality stream that we possibly can, today, given how bad things are going. Okay, a lot of more people are saying it sounds good. I think it's possibly because we increased I increased the gain that might have an impact here. Anton Nim, thank you so much for your assistance. If we have now it's bad, now it's good, now it's good. I don't know what to make of it. Um, and you know what? We're just gonna do the best we possibly can on this. Given how close, maybe I don't need have it, so close to me. Again, ah, this is bizarre. This is bizarre. Alright, we'll keep it up. We'll keep it going. Yeah, I increased the gain a lot. Um, yeah, turned down the gain. Oh, that's funny. We have no idea. We're just gonna keep pushing here, and do the best we can. Once again, sorry, guys. Alright, so right now we have 14 minutes before Blue Origin is going to, go live. We'll bring their stream to you at the very least. Their audio, of course, would be better, and we're going to do everything we possibly can. Um, and yeah, so what we're trying to do is bring you a prelude to what's going to be happening. Let's go ahead and bring up a couple of these slides if you don't mind, producer. Let's go ahead. Uh, All right, we've got some slides to bring you folks. I thought my producer had it there, and that's just not necessarily the case. Again, guys, I apologize for what's happening here with the audio. I'm using the same connection, the same microphone, the same everything I've always used. Yet for some reason we have this bizarre and disrupted audio that we never had before. Never had. It's very, very, very confusing. Nevertheless, the next time that I broadcast, I'm actually going to be at my producer's house. I'm gonna take this mic to the out there, and we'll see if that makes any difference in terms of figuring out what the problems might be. In the meantime, there is much we can. So once again, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks very much for doing everything you possibly can. The headset is strictly speakers. There's no built-in mic for this headset. And again, this is the mic that I use for my recorded videos, and I've got the best quality audio that I have ever gotten when I have used this mic for my recorded videos. I don't know what to make of it. So it is a compression issue, in which case it might be an internet problem. Anyway, sorry guys. Really, very, very sorry that this is going this way. We'll just do the best we can today. John, thank you so much for the tenor. I really appreciate your generosity. Yeah, we could have an internet problem here, I suppose. Hey, why don't I speed test real quick, and we'll keep talking because we're waiting for producer to bring up some of those slides that I had just mentioned. Let me go ahead and run a speed test. Oh my God, nope. This my internet for download is off the chain. My landlord has always made sure to to give me a good quality internet connection here, and the upstream is good. Saying my internet connection is very fast. That's not it. I don't know. I don't know, guys. We'll just do what we can. And once again, I apologize. Um, all right. When I was touched them, it went perfect. I don't understand why the headphones would have an impact on this. The headphones are not connected to the mic. It's all very bizarre. Chris, thank you so much. That was so generous given the problems that we're having today. That's mega generous there, Chris. Thanks a lot for helping out. By the way, Chris is also in my ear as much as he is anyplace else. Guess he appreciates the fact that I'm doing my best to struggle with this stuff at this ridiculously early time in the morning. It is now pushing on 10 minutes to 5 a.m. in the UK. Not my ideal time to be broadcasting at all. So yeah, I did run a speed test. Todd, great. The internet is fantastic. So I don't know what to make of it. I am beyond frustrated with this situation. Um, However, there could be. I'm gonna try one more thing. Producer, I'm gonna go ahead and send you a new OBS link, and I'm gonna switch the ports on the mic, and we're gonna see if that helps at all. Okay? We're gonna. I'll be right back, guys. I'll be right back. Check, check, check. Hello? Yep. Hello, this is Jordan Wright, the angry astronaut, coming to you and trying to fix this wretched mic that never seems to. Nope, I am showing a very low source. I don't understand it. This is exactly. Well, hang on. Let me see. Yep, that's the one. This is the mic that we want to use. This is the mic that is plugged in, and yet I am not. It's just not doing anything. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know. What are you getting, producer? Alright. So it sounds a bit better. Okay, some people are saying it sounds better. Um, I don't know. It's not a Bluetooth mic. It's plugged directly into a port. Alright, sounds good. 5 by 5. Okay, hey, maybe we're gonna I plugged it into a different port. So I'm thinking that that may have done it too. Thank you so much, uh, from GV11. Well, thank you. Um, really, really appreciate that. Uh, yes, thanks. That's your first super chat ever. Sue, I don't know if what your connection is to Dr. Levin, but thank you so much. Dr. Levin, by the way, is the individual who headed up the label release experiments on the Viking landers in 1976. And as far as I'm concerned, he discovered life on Mars. Okay, so I think we're saying the sounds way better, and I think it's based on the port that I'm plugged into. I think the port that I was, I don't know, like I say, different people saying different things, but a lot of people have said that that it's sounding good. So again, I don't know what to make of it. We're just going to go ahead and push forward because we've done everything we possibly can. And the next time when I'm at my producer's place, get a better I'll be able to get a better idea. So the mic is directly in front of my mouth right now, so we're doing the best that we can. And we'll continue to struggle to the best with this because I know that this is frustrating, but we will try. We will we'll just go with what we can today. Um, and like I said, there's a whole variety of things could be, but my internet connection is fast right now. I just did a speed test, it's strong. So, in any event, I don't wanna spend the rest of this time talking my audio. That's just waste. We're just gonna do the best that we can with what we have. This is a very, very critical, very, very critical launch today, and it's difficult, to get an assessment of it's It it's difficult to say exactly what's going to happen. It's gonna be, difficult to say what Origin regards as being success, but, it's gonna be very interesting because this is the first orbital launch attempt that's been made since SpaceX. And SpaceX is the only other company that's attempted to do this, trying to land trying to land a booster on a barge or land a booster at all after launch. And I'll tell you, this is something that SpaceX science out of, obviously, but nobody else even attempted. Nobody else has even attempted at all. So very, very interesting to see what's going to be transpiring today. Huge, huge moment in the history of space flight. So uh, it, it'll be. Do we have some of the slides? We do have the slides at this point, sir. Go ahead. Let's go ahead and put up the orbital trajectory. Let's go ahead and check that one real quick. Okay. Okay. Well, we're not looking for video extras. Yeah, there we go. We're just looking for oh, right up. We're yep. Waiting to see. Okay. All right. All right, folks. So right now we are looking at the if this is as I think it's supposed to be. We are currently looking at the flight profile, flight trajectory that's going to be taking place. The big thing that I think that one of the most important things that we need to keep in mind um, is the fact this is a very unconventional orbit. If you guys want to have a look at that, the apogee is 19,300 kilometers. Perigee is 2,400 kilometers. That is a big, big departure from your traditional low Earth orbit trajectory, just a few hundred kilometers up. Blue Origin is not going halfway on this. They're not doing just a launch with the objective of getting past the Kármán line and being done with it. Instead, they are looking at a payload deployment at a very high orbital trajectory, and even the perigee, as I say, of this orbit is 2,400 kilometers. So it's a ways up there, far, far beyond the usual orbital trajectory of Starship. Starship, I doubt, is going to fly to a trajectory this high until it's on its way to the moon. So very, very big deal indeed that we have coming up for that. And then let's go ahead and we also want to pull up a second here. Let's go ahead and pull up the visibility along the East Coast. Go ahead and have a look at that image as well, please. When that comes up here, you're going to see where the rocket will technically be visible across the East Coast of the United States, visible all the way inland to Alabama. All right, we're waiting here. It's the one that shows the launch visibility producer, launch visibility. Yeah, sorry, we have the BE, we have the engines up there. Bear with us for just 1 second, and we'll show you launch visibility here. And what I'm looking at on the monitor is a couple of minutes behind what you guys are seeing, so that's why I don't always see what's coming up. Producer, we got that up right now? Launch visibility. Sure, sure. All right. We're having a rough day, guys. Thanks for hanging in there with us because we are having a difficult time. It's an early morning, and both my producer and I are struggling today. Let me tell you, it has not been an easy thing at all. Um, so all I can say is we're doing our best. And yes, I'm just to keep re-emphasizing, I'm definitely aware of the audio problems. We've tried several things to correct it. This is as good as it's gonna get. All right, so, the launch visibility slide is what we are looking at right now, but can't see it, I can at least give you an idea of where the visibility is going to be, all across Florida, of course. In addition, there we go. So Launch plus 30 seconds, of course, is going to be pretty much in the just in the region of Cape Canaveral. Launch plus 60 seconds, a bit larger. Plus 90 seconds, you're still essentially sticking to Florida. Launch plus 120 seconds, still Florida, and then launch plus 150 seconds. You're going to have a little bit of southeast Georgia included in there. 3 minutes after launch, you'll be able to see it through, again, most of southeastern Georgia, in addition to all of Florida. And then at launch plus 210 seconds, you'll be visible through about half of South Carolina, and even a tiny bit of Alabama will be included, and all the way into the Florida Panhandle as well. So again, if you guys that area, you should see if you've got clear skies. You should check that out. You might be able to see this thing fly. And then launch plus 240 seconds. It'd be visible through most of South Carolina, through most of Georgia, even a substantial corner of Alabama. So very, very interesting indeed. So I if there is an invitation, Sue, I apologize. I didn't see it. If that's the case, Sue, please send me an email. And if you've already sent me an email, I'm going to go ahead and go through my records and see if that's the case. I did not realize that anything was transpiring with Dr. Levin. And I would very much like to see that. Although I don't know how long ago that was that you sent that out to me. Again, Dr. Levin was the individual who, in my opinion, discovered life on Mars back in 1976. And Sue, that's my producer that just posted that. So, yeah, I would very much love to be involved in anything associated with Dr. Levin's memory, because I think very soon we are going to confirm the presence of life on Mars, and that's something that we've known since 1976. And if you guys are not aware of that, I've released a number of videos on the topic. I also was one of the last people to interview Dr. Lehman. It was such a wonderful, wonderful privilege to get that opportunity. Let's go ahead and bring up the payload information for New Glenn now. If we can do that, please, producer, and just let me know when it's up. He will show you just how big the payload capability is for New Glenn. Aside from Starship and SLS, it is the biggest fairing available. Producer up yet or not? Waiting. Okay, no problem. We're waiting to get the pay. We're waiting to yeah, New Glenn payload capacity. New Glenn's fairing has the payload capacity of more than 30 New Shepherds. We're waiting here. So we need the producer to get that slide up. Payload, payload capacity. Payload capacity is what we're looking at. They're popping up here. At some point we will master this process, guys. All right, so we got it now. We've got 20 moving trucks that will fit actually into, and that's something that we don't think a lot about is the fact that in most of our minds, a rocket fairing is not vessel, right? It's not that huge, especially if you consider, that a cargo dragon and relatively limited amount of payload that it's taking up to the International Space Station. But again, this thing is capable of bringing up. Again, we're looking for payload capacity. I'm not looking at oh, yeah, there we go. That's New Shepard versus New Glenn as far as the rocket is concerned, but instead, we're looking for a slide that's entitled "Payload Capacity," producer. Once again, I'm sorry. Should have been more clear about that. Yeah, yeah, right. So we're getting it there. In any event, we're looking at 20 moving vans worth of capacity for this very large New Glenn fairing. Once again, guys, I know that we're having a rough day today. On it's, at this time of morning, I'm fortunate to be able to even talk, let alone get accurate information out to anybody. And I apologize. I am just not on my shit very often at this time in the morning. But again, that's 20 moving vans worth of capacity in New Glenn's fairing, and this, of course, is the biggest part of this. This is the most significant thing that Blue Origin has to offer when we're talking about New Glenn is its payload capacity. Even though it's 40 metric tons, which actually the Falcon Heavy is capable of lifting more mass. Falcon Heavy's fairing is not capable of lifting nearly this much payload. Rockets that are have more sizable volume than this is SLS stars. Other than that, this thing is much, much bigger and yeah, that's correct. The equivalent of 20 moving trucks, um, more than 20 moving trucks, actually. This is a very, very big fairing, 7 meters in diameter. And as you can see, with a 7-meter diameter fairing, it's about 21 meters in length. I think they even have a longer version than that. This is a colossal, colossal fairing designed to deploy enormous, enormous numbers of satellites. This is a constellation deploying machine. Certainly, Starship is too. We're going to see today, we're going to watch New Glenn fly, assuming everything goes well. We're going to see this thing fly to a very high orbital trajectory. Um, and therefore, they will demonstrate that it's capable of sending up large numbers of satellites to a variety of orbital trajectories, not just oh. So yeah, assuming that things go well, this rocket's capacity is going to set it apart from the competition in a big way. One of the how many bananas can it hold? Very, very good question. There will be a significant, significant change in the environment in the spaceflight arena if this thing becomes operational. Because not only do we have this massive payload capacity, but we have reusability and also the capability of delivering these payloads to very high orbital trajectories and indeed even to the moon without refueling. And that's a very, very important distinction. So, yeah, in spite of the fact that there's been talk, uh, some of my colleagues have even spoken about how Starship has already made Glenn irrelevant and inconsequential. That's really not true. Um, 505,000 bananas. Oh, 405. Thank you, producer. 405,000 bananas. So once again, not as many as you can put inside Starship, but still, this is a big, 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 rocket in terms of its payload capacity. And again, if we consider that this thing only has 7 E4 engines, the fact that you can carry that much payload, 40 metric tons, um, that's gonna be a big deal. 40 metric tons low Earth orbit with only 7 engines providing that thrust. That's a significant difference because the BE-4s don't really they at best have maybe 90, 80, or 90% thrust of the Raptors. We're talking only 7 as opposed to 33. And yet look at that payload. And the reason, again, that this is the case is because Blue Origin has built this rocket out of very, very lightweight materials. This is a different philosophy from Starship. It doesn't have the 3D printed as much of the 3D printed materials as Rocket Lab uses, but still, they are focusing on lightweight, lightweight, lightweight in order to achieve the payload capacity that they have. Although, in spite of all of that, the Vulcan Centaur actually is capable of carrying more payload in terms of mass out to the moon and to a geosynchronous a direct geosynchronous deployment orbit in New Glenn because of those solid rocket boosters. And another advantage, yes, we New Glenn almost certainly needs to work in order to deploy Blue Moon. I think Blue Moon is too big or a rocket that has a 5-meter fairing like Vulcan Centaur. So, yeah, this is important on lots of levels, because obviously Blue Origin, has the HLS contract. Um, where are we with Blue Origin stream at the moment? Okay, Blue has not yet gone live, interestingly enough. They were supposed to go live 14 minutes ago, and they haven't. It took them a while to even announce what was happening. They have not posted any updates propellant load. Um, so interesting. We'll exactly uh, what's uh, see exactly what's going on with that. Hopefully soon. Hopefully that doesn't mean we're encountering some issues. Another thing that sets New Glenn, that makes New Glenn and Starship is its launch configuration and the philosophy behind it deploying payloads. Because as we know, Falcon 9 more often than not land on barges these days. The further the booster is down range, the more payload you can deploy to a higher orbit. But Starship is bringing that booster all the way back all the time. It's bringing that booster all the way back to the OLM. That being the case, that has an impact on the amount of payload that Starship can deploy, um, versus New Glenn that's going to be pushing that booster down range considerably, and again improving its payload capacity to higher orbital trajectories, and still reusing booster in the process. I really think that Starship at some point needs to also have the capability of landing at sea. It loses a lot of its higher orbital capabilities without that. So in any event, let's go ahead and bring the Blue Origin stream on, especially since we've been struggling with this audio here on my stream. Let's go ahead and bring Blue Origin on. Okay, they have a splash. That's all they got. Okay. Well, we'll put a little. Can we put a little screen here just so we can keep people aware of where there's? Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put their splash screen on just so we know what's going on in the Blue Origin world as we continue this broadcast. But yeah, I have to admit, I'm getting kind of excited, because not necessarily because I'm a Blue Origin fan all of a sudden, because I'm not. But the thing that's important about all of this is reusability. We have a company that embraces reusability as enthusiastically and as completely as SpaceX does, and that is a big that is a big shift. The of course, Blue Origin has been using the booster on New Shepard for quite some time, but New Shepard has very few applications in anything other than space tourism. There isn't a whole lot that that rocket can do aside from being a space tourist vehicle. That being the case, obviously, New Glenn is just a big shift, a big change in terms of Blue Origin's capacity, and not just Blue Origin, private space flight in general. We have an image of the launching pad. We don't yet, actually, until it's provided to us by Blue Origin. We don't have anything coming from the launch pad yet. I would have loved to have been there, but there's only so many times that I can get uh, to the United States and get to Cape Canaveral to cover these things. And also, this launch has been delayed a number of times, which I'm pretty sure has impacted um, has certainly impacted a number of people's capability to watch these things. By the way, I appreciate all the likes coming in, given the struggles, the ongoing struggles that we've had with this broadcast. Doing the best we can, guys. Doing the best we can to bring you the best broadcast that we can, and this will be the last time. Hopefully, this should be the last time we deal with this, because I'll be heading to my producer's house for the Starship launch, and I'll be bringing this break with me to find out what the hell is going on with it. So, all that having been said, we are waiting for Blue Origin to come on. Let's go ahead and again talk about what they're hoping to achieve. Obviously, they want to achieve a very high orbital trajectory with this launch. This is not just a simple launch to orbit. This is a launch to a very, very high orbital trajectory. So that's one detail. Again, to iterate, the orbital has an apogee altitude of 19,300 kilometers and a perigee altitude of 2,400 kilometers. So this is not a LEO launch. This is a high orbital trajectory launch. So that's one significant difference. In addition, the rocket will be deploying a uh, test article for blue ring. It won't actually be a functional blue ring, but it has the same mass, it has the same size. So the idea is to deploy a payload on the first launch. So again, a lot of the same things that SpaceX is hoping to accomplish here in just a couple of days also is what Blue Origin is going to maybe doing today. Again, that is a big maybe. And then, of course, landing the booster. Now, Dave Limp, the new CEO of Blue Origin, has made it clear that the expectation is not to successfully land the booster on the first try. The odds are very, very much against that. But nevertheless, they're going to give it a shot. It's great news. Great news to see that they're going to attempt it. And I'm not going to put it completely beyond their capability. Blue Origin has been landing boosters for a long time now, for a very to answer your question, Andy, we are theoretically about 39 minutes out, 38 to 39 minutes. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you answering the question there. So yeah, we obviously have, and again, we have approximately a 3-hour launch window here. So if there are any issues, obviously, we could have a couple of holds during this process, but we're just a little over, unofficially, we're a little over half an hour away from liftoff at this point. So we will, of course, stay with you, and we will stay with you all the way through the landing of the booster, and also we'll see how we'll also stick with you through at least part of the flight. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to stay with you all the way to where the rocket achieves its maximum apogee altitude of 19,300 kilometers. That probably won't happen until about 90 minutes after liftoff. But nevertheless, it would be a pretty interesting flight, and hopefully, hey, we're gonna go. We're gonna. Our new partner has been so fantastic in contributing lately. He has he sent us over an animation of New Glenn in flight. So we're gonna go ahead and maybe have a quick. Um, we're gonna go ahead and lift off with New Glenn, and we'll see. This is my first time seeing this, by the way. This is Digital Voodoo. Strongly recommend that you become part of his YouTube channel. Pretty cool. So right now, I think I'm soon looking at upload the sorts of things that are happening right now. Is preparing to take a flight. Again, this is a launch facility that Blue Origin has had for many years without actually using it yet. This will be the first time that this facility has been put into use for a very, very long time indeed. So, yeah, um, we shall see what ends up happening. To answer the question, nobody's letting me down. Nobody. It's just some sort of technical issue that we still haven't been able to figure out, whatever we have. But what will be the success rate of the launch today? Oh, here goes the liftoff at this point. Again, 7 of these BE-4 engines, uh, yeah, and, uh, again, running off of Methalock, very similar to Raptor in their terms of their capabilities, although they don't have that elegant simplicity, that Raptor has. But in any event, yeah, that's cool. Like that. I like that. Again, Digital Voodoo was kind enough, to throw this together for us over the course of the last 48 hours. I would say that I would give Blue Origin a 30% chance of successfully landing their booster today. I would give them about a 30% chance. So, we shall see. Right now, guys, just to be clear, we're watching an animation of a new Glenn launch that's about to take place, although this is a daytime launch that we're watching in the animation, not a nighttime launch. Um, will Dream Chaser launched exclusively from Vulcan, at least to start off with. It'll be launched from the Vulcan rocket, not from New Glenn. New Glenn is certainly capable of doing it, but nevertheless, it will launched from Vulcan. So in any event, yeah, so we've got I like this. Again, Digital Voodoo was nice enough to throw this together in the space of just a couple of days. This is not something that took weeks and weeks to make. Just tossed this together rather quickly, and I definitely appreciate it. Thank you, Digital Voodoo, for doing it. So, and once again, I appreciate all these likes. We're up to 168 likes or so. I'd really appreciate that, folks. Um, so, yeah, definitely show Digital Voodoo some love, guys. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel. Definitely, I'd really appreciate that. How are we doing on how are we doing on the Blue Origin stream producer? Are they still just giving us a splash screen? We're still on a splash screen. Okay. All right. So, in the event, guys, we are still waiting to come online. Interesting that they are not giving us anything almost a half an hour after they were supposed to go live. That is an interesting situation indeed. Once again, we've got no updates from Blue Origin um, on their situation. So as far as we know, everything is still pushing forward. Um, Dalek, you make a good point, but unfortunately, um, Dream Chaser can't fit inside a Falcon 9 Sparing. Too big. So the only rocket that really can carry it is Centaur. It's probably one of the reasons that Blue Origin, or rather that Sierra Space has done what they've done, and have waited for Vulcan to get a couple more launches under its belt before they send it up on Vulcan Centaur. So in any event, we'll all right. So we got some other animations with stage separation, payload deployment, all that. That's pretty cool. So just waiting for all that to happen. I just want to thank everybody again, the ones who have tuned in. You guys are hanging in here through this lousy audio. Once again, I'm very sorry that it's this way. All I can do is let you know that we are aware of it, what's going on, and we'll have a great opportunity to get it fixed next time. Because I'll be heading to my producer's place in a couple of days. I would have done this before, but I've just been struggling with a terrible illness for a couple of weeks. It's just been a grim, and, finally have gotten through it. Finally, the antibiotics have done their job, and I'll be able to head to my producers and, be able to figure out what's been happening with this. It's been very strange, though, with all the years that I've been broadcasting, to suddenly have these audio issues is just very, very strange. So, uh, hyped about another historic step forward in my favorite community. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Things are definitely things are definitely exciting today. This is definitely a big, big thing, and we are just waiting for Blue Origin to come online. It is interesting that they did nothing but give us a splash the last half hour. Makes me wonder if we might have an issue of some um, no idea. But nevertheless, we'll continue to try to keep you updated on what's happening. Once again, we are aware of the audio thing. Sorry, do the best we can. Um, and and again, can't even guess what's causing it. All we can do is just keep pushing forward. Sue says I was just getting over bronchitis, fires, and smoke happened. That's nasty. So I take it then that you're out in the LA area. So I hope that you're going to be anybody in that region. Please stay safe. Now, Blue Origin has finally gone live half an hour prior to liftoff. Let's go ahead and bring Blue Origin's audio on here for a bit. Go ahead, producer.
Out there on the pad tonight, it was born right here in our rocket factory. And as you can see, we've got several more coming down the line right behind it. All right, it's game time. Denise, my co-host, you ready?
I'm so ready. Hey everyone, my name is Denise Aranda. I'm one of the technical leads for the New Glenn program. Let's light this candle.
Let's do this.
Okay, we have a copyright music going right now. So that's why we don't have audio. Producer, let me know when they come back. We cannot have, obviously we've got some copyrighted Blue Origin music going at the moment, so we have to keep that audio off. So yeah, it looks like their intention was always to come online half an hour prior. We're looking at a nice history of spaceflight here, guys. Um, yeah. Oh, I love that animation of the Blue Moon lander. That tiny little clip we just got there. It's rare that we get anything new from these guys, and it's kind of cool when we see it. Obviously, New Shepard is the only real life accomplishments that these guys can tell us, that these guys can give us. New Shepard has been the sum total of what they've accomplished thus far. We now have a poll up, by the way, to see what everybody thinks is going to happen. Oh, we even have some little clips of the tour with Tim Dodd. How about that? With Jeff Bezos and Tim Dodd. That's neat. The time for liftoff is 28 minutes from now. We'll be on the hour. That's the plan anyway. Producer, you good? Yeah. We're gonna bring their audio back now.
I can't believe we're here together. You know, so many years of hard work from across all the teams at Blue Origin to bring us here today. And a warm welcome to everyone watching. I've been at Blue Origin for 4 years, and I just got to say, I am so, so thrilled to be here.
You were speaking my language, girl. Now, Denise, you're one of our principal engineers on the New Glenn program. I'm looking forward to your insider perspective as we go through launch. What do you think you're most looking forward to tonight?
So many things, but I think for me, hands down, it's going to be the noise. You know, New Glenn is just so big. Those BE4 engines are so powerful, and it's so close to us. I really think that people all up and down the Cape and Cocoa Beach are going to see something brand new today. And yep, that's what I'm here for. I'm going to bring some insider technical content as we go. You know, in my role at Blue as the principal contamination control engineer on the New Glenn team, I'm going to try to provide all those cool details.
Anton, yes, 26 minutes from now, roughly.
With me today. Thanks so much. You've been one of many team members working extremely hard on this vehicle, so this is a big day for you and the team.
And what a day for you, Ariane. Congratulations on your baby girl. Welcome back from maternity leave.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here for New Glenn's first launch. Absolutely no way I would miss this. I had my beautiful baby girl just a couple months back, and now I feel like I'm back for the birth of my other baby back here, New Glenn. But before we get in a little too deep into the show, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the devastating fires in California. We hope that everybody remains safe, and we want to send our deep appreciation for the incredible work of the firefighters and emergency workers battling these fires and caring for so many people. We at Blue actually have a few hundred employees in the great state of California, many at the center of it all.
We are Team Blue, and our hearts are with you during this difficult time.
Well said. Now, with that, let's turn our attention to the star of the show today, New Glenn, standing proud on the launch tower just a few miles away at Launch Complex 36.
There it is, standing tall. And you know, we've got plenty of cameras all around the pad, so we're going to get some great views today.
That rocket looks good.
It
all
really
right.
does.
Why don't you start, Denise, by giving us a tour of the vehicle?
Well, New Glenn is Blue Origin's next generation orbital class rocket, and it's built on a reusable first stage.
And speaking of reusability, let's look at the aft section there of New Glenn. One of the things that is critical to New Glenn, of course, because it's a reusable vehicle, is the landing gear that's housed in the aft section there.
So there's actually 6 landing legs on that aft section, and they're actually going to deploy right before it lands.
And unlike New Shepard, our suborbital vehicle, New Glenn's booster is going to land out at sea.
New Glenn is going to launch vertically here at the Cape. It'll then arc over the Atlantic on its way to orbit. The first stage is then going to maneuver its way back to Earth onto a landing platform that's actually positioned in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the first stage booster is powered by 7 BE-4 engines, and these are really powerful engines. Each one is capable of over 500,000 pounds of thrust each. So when we combine all 7, we're talking about a launch vehicle with a thrust at liftoff of nearly 4 million pounds.
3.85 million to be exact. Got to make sure our engineers, out there don't call us out. Got to get the sig figs right. But that's just the first stage. And as the first stage is busy landing back on Earth, meanwhile, the second stage is going to continue into orbit. Just for a quick intro for those that are not, really into rockets, when we talk about stages, basically what we're doing is we stack one rocket on top of the other. Stage 1, stage 2. Stage 2 is the bottom. Stage 1 is the stage 1 is the bottom, stage 2 is the top.
Correct, yeah. So stage 2 is actually what's sitting right there on top of the booster on the pad. And what's really unique about the second stage is that it's powered by 2 BE-3Us. Now, these are actually an upgraded design based on the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen engines that power New Shepard.
And then, of course, there's the crown of the vehicle, if you will, the payload fairing on top.
Yep, that's my favorite part, the payload fairing. It sits right on top of that second stage, and it's really a protective cover that takes care of our payload on its way to space. But it's really what's inside the fairing that's at the heart of every New Glenn mission.
That's right. So every rocket launch is about sending something to space, and today's launch is no different. For this first mission, that payload is a pathfinder for another Blue Ring program, Blue Ring. It happens to be very near and dear to my heart because it's the program that I help lead. But before we get too deep into that, I am thrilled to say that we've got a couple other faces to meet this evening that are going to be bringing us all the action. So first, I would like to bring in my teammate Maggie McNeese from our government team in DC. She's standing near mission control now. Maggie, you there?
Hey, Ariane. Hey, Denise. We really doing this?
This is happening. We are definitely here at launch day, and you have to be feeling some of the same tingles we are down here. Why don't you situate us to where you are standing up there? What's going on? What is the vibe up there?
The vibes are impeccable. I am here by mission control. Right down the hallway, as you said before, we've got our launch control. In these rooms are our engineering teams and operators who are going to go ahead and be, looking at all of the data coming off the vehicles. They're going to give us our best chance of success today.
Now, we've got a pretty special assignment for you there, Maggie. We're going to have you reporting right up there through the launch to keep us plugged in behind the scenes. What are you looking forward to sharing with us today?
A lot. I'm really looking forward to making sure that you know what's going on in these rooms, take you through some of the personalities we've got inside, how it all works. You know, if there are a couple anomalies, we'll work through those together. It's going to be a great time, Ariane.
Love it. Thank you so much, Maggie. We're grateful to have you up there and keeping us connected. And of course, we're going to patch you in as we go. Now, let's check in with our broader Blue team. Our employees in Florida today are getting a close-up view of the launch over at nearby Cars Park. Eddie Seifert is there standing by. Eddie, you there?
Yeah, hey Ariane, welcome. Welcome to the best seat in the house. We've got the best Team Blue behind me. I hope you can hear it. It's pandemonium. How are you guys doing over there?
Oh my God, I love the energy. Talk to us. Tell me about the scene. What you seeing? What's the view? Talk to us.
We are 6 miles away as the crow flies to Launch Complex 36. It's pandemonium here. New Glenn is perfectly viewed in the distance, and we are here to support at Cars Park. We're joined by Space Coast residents. We're joined by family members, team members. This is really an exciting moment for Team Blue.
Eddie, now you're a familiar face across Blue Origin. You've got a front row seat at Blue watching this rocket go from design to build to test. What's going through your head right now?
You know, it's a collective sense of anticipation. Everyone here has done everything that they knew to do to the best of their ability. Their family members have sacrificed for them to be here at this moment at New Glenn 1. And we have one proposal. Let's send it. Let's light this candle. Let's send New Glenn to space. Let's send Blue Ring on its mission. This team is hyped.
Well, Eddie, one more cool thing that you and the team collaborated on. I understand all of Team Blue signed the fairing before it went to the pad. You want to tell me about that?
Yeah, so signing space hardware is a tradition at Blue. From the New Shepard propulsion module panels to the crew capsule base heat shield, those engines on New Glenn have our signatures. Now the nice thing about those 7-meter fairings that are over 60 feet tall is that it can fit the signatures of more than 10,000 employees that currently call Blue Origin home. And so that's what we're sending to space in addition to the hardware. And this team right here, they made it happen.
Well, thank you, Eddie. Can't wait to check in with you again shortly. You keep the Team Blue pumped down that, but I have a feeling you're not going to have too many troubles. No. They seem pretty psyched.
We're psyched to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Well, I look forward to what both Eddie and Maggie can bring to the show. Let's take a little deeper dive into the mission today.
So there is a lot. Right now, we are tracking a number of technical milestones between now and liftoff, and then there's going to be another set of critical in-flight milestones once we're underway. Now, we do want to be very clear about our objectives today. This is New Glenn's first flight, and we prepared rigorously for it. But no amount of ground testing or mission simulation is a replacement for flying this rocket in space.
Well put. Our key objective today is to reach orbit safely. Anything beyond that is icing on the cake, bonus points, cherries on sundaes, whatever you want to call it. We know that landing the booster on the first try offshore in the Atlantic is ambitious, but you can't win if you don't try, and we are going for it tonight. And no matter what happens, we are going to learn, refine, apply that knowledge to our next launch, both, of course, in the design of the vehicle, but also into the operations. And about that booster, again, yes, we are going for it. New Shepard landed on only its second attempt in November of 2015. I happened to be on the ground for that in West Texas back in the day, and it was wild. And man, I can't wait to see if we can make some more history here with New Glenn, which our booster today has been named with a pretty cool name. You wanna tell us that?
Sure is. Our booster's named So You're Telling Me There's a Chance.
Classic 90s movie reference there for all you Jim Carrey fans. But let's level set here. You think we're going to stick the landing? Like if you were a betting lady in Las Vegas this evening?
So we think it's possible. You know, the truth is that this is an enormous goal. We're trying to land a giant building-sized vehicle that's plummeting down from space. There's just so much complex engineering that goes into this. But you know, it's time that we try it for real, and today is that day.
Let's do it. Let's put it to work. We'll see how it performs. But hey, no matter what happens, we're going to learn a ton, get loads of data, and apply it to NG2 and beyond. Now,
So will I.
if we land this thing,
That will be surprising.
You and me both.
Okay, good. Just setting expectations for everybody on this one. Now, some other business to discuss this evening is the payload we have on board. We have early technology demonstration on board for Blue Ring. And as mentioned before, it is something that I'm very excited about because it's related to the program that I help lead here at Blue Origin. There it is on the left side of your screen there, sitting nice and ready to go in the payload fairing. But to be clear, what you're looking at, this is not Blue Ring itself. This is not the Blue Ring spacecraft itself. It is a pathfinder for the Blue Ring vehicle. And so the vehicle, the Blue Ring vehicle that we are building currently employs a lot of the same technologies and capabilities that are put in that vehicle that you see on the left of your screen. And today we are going to validate the communication capabilities from orbit to the ground. Now, it's also worth noting that today's payload is non-separating.
Kobayashi, yes it is.
To the second
Methane,
stage
oxygen.
throughout the mission as it powers on and it begins collecting data. For the broader system we're building, for the Blue Ring itself, you can think of Blue Ring as a utility vehicle, a multi-tool, or kind of a mobile service station that we can use to run errands around the solar system. Today, on this mission, it's a super cool pathfinder for that vehicle that will be flying. We have some exciting details to share a little later on. We're going to get way in depth on the exact technology that we're testing today, as well as Blue Ring. But I'll tell you right now, I'm super excited about not just the launch, but the payload, and for both, you know, the New Glenn team and the Blue Ring team. So much work has come together today. And that's why today is such a big deal. We're going to be laying the foundation of our mission to build a road to space for the benefit of Earth.
Such an exciting launch and just so much to aim for.
Yes, but to level set again, at the end of the day, we know that we're in this for the long haul. Today is just day one, the beginning of a new chapter for New Glenn. We're going to collect a significant amount of data, no matter what happens. And from our perspective, the way I like to put it, data is the currency of success. The more data we have, the better off we are. The longer we fly, the more data we collect, the more we can crunch on, so we can reinvest back into New Glenn for New Glenn 2 and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. And that data is really going to be critical for our engineers and our ability to evolve New Glenn into a fully operational program. You know, with New Shepard, we've flown 28 missions so far, and we've sent over 40 astronauts to space. And while we consider that system fully operational, that flight data that we get after every mission helps our engineers fine-tune the system. It helps us refine our procedures, reduces the overall time between launches, and perhaps most important of all, it significantly drives down the cost of spaceflight.
And we have learned so much as New Shepard has progressed. And by the way, those learnings all come into
Producer,
play.
let's run that same poll again.
Glenn. We've integrated a lot of design and operational lessons from New Shepard into
Yes.
New Glenn. So, and speaking of lessons learned
Yes.
from New Shepard, there's that recurring Blue Origin theme of reusability. New Shepard has...
Is this rocket going to make it? What does everybody think? We're going to put a poll up here in just a second.
The same deal. But let's point out one big difference. New Shepard lands on a landing pad in the desert, while New Glenn's landing pad is out in the Atlantic Ocean. I should take a moment to note, you know, the ocean, the seas out there have been quite rough for the last several days. So, you know, that is why we took a little bit of extra time to get a really good chance of landing this booster tonight. So a big kudos to our team that is out there operating the Jacqueline. They have been rocking and rolling, with the waves out there for several days, but things are going to get exciting this evening. Now, a key piece of this landing system is the landing ship, which we call the Jacqueline. You want to tell us a little bit more about the Jacqueline?
Would love to. So we've actually named our landing platform after a very special Blue Origin family member, the Jacqueline. It's right now out at sea, a couple of 100 miles from Cape Canaveral, and the crew that's operating the Jacqueline is actually positioned nearby in a different support vessel.
That seems prudent, doesn't it?
It does.
Just saying.
We're also going to, there it is. And we also have a lot of cameras on our ship today, so we expect to be able to watch it live as our booster touches down, and that's just going to be so cool.
Yes, it is going to be such a pivotal moment. Our first landing attempt for this rocket. We have got to make sure that that gets captured regardless of what happens. And there's a live shot, a beautiful landing pad there with our Blue Origin feather, just waiting to just welcome home a rocket from space. No big deal.
And after that booster lands on the Jacqueline, the vessel is going to transport the booster back to our facilities here at Rocket Park. We're going to do an inspection before flying again. And this is, of course, very important because...
You've heard us sing this tune before. Reusable vehicles are how we will radically reduce the cost of access to space. Now, I hope you're all out there getting a sense of the set pieces here that make up today's launch. We've got the vehicle itself. We've got the ground systems, but we've also got the sea-based systems. And of course, all of the people, the teammate across the Cape and the US, frankly, that are working hard to get us to our launch. Now, let's take a moment and toss to New Glenn on the pad as we make our way towards the very first orbital flight for Blue Origin.
Okay, they are 40 minutes to liftoff, guys. They're at 40 minutes to liftoff, just to be clear. Yep, they're approximately half an hour later than we were looking at, and that would explain why these ladies came online a half an hour late as well, and that's because they're not going to try to launch until half past the hour. Let's go ahead and bring them back, producer. Okay. Can you bring him in? Can you bring them into my ear again, producer? Okay, so all we got is white noise at the moment from Blue Origin. Okay, just wanted to be clear here. So yes, we are looking approximately... Oh, here we go. They're back.
Welcome back, everybody. We are officially at T-minus 38 minutes and 57 seconds to go until launch, our first launch of New Glenn. I should note that as we go along here, you might see our clock bounce around a little bit. That's just our teams getting aligned and making sure that by the time we get down to zero, everybody's set and ready to go. But talking about ready to go, Denise, why don't you give us an update on the vehicle and its preparedness?
Absolutely. So our team has already completed fueling up New Glenn's propellant tanks for both our first stage and our second stage. We are now entering the next step, which is called propellant conditioning. This is, of course, a crucial step because we need to make sure that those propellants are at the right temperatures and at the right pressures. We also need to manage pressure. You might have noticed that there's a lot of excess gases that are being vented from our first stage and our second stage. This is because our cryogenic propellants are so cold that they're experiencing something called a boil-off. So we are venting all that excess gas to prevent buildup and overpressurization, You may have also noticed on your screen that we have the flame stack. or what we lovingly
41%
call
believe
tiki
that
torches.
New Glenn
That's
will
there
make
as
it
a
to
safety
orbit but
mechanism
not
to make sure
land
that we
the
are burning
booster.
all that
That is the
flammable oxygen
winning
and
vote,
hydrogen,
although launch
protecting
and
New
land
Glenn
without
and our
issues
launch
is
pad. So that is
34%.
where
A
we are
third
right
of
now.
our
We'll
viewers
keep
think that
tracking
Blue Origin
progress
will
as
pull
we
this
make our
off
way to terminal count.
completely.
Thank you
That's
very much. We will
impressive.
look forward to the next update on the team and the rocket there. Now, we mentioned that we're sitting in the rocket factory here. Blue Origin's mission control is right upstairs, right above our head. And we're very close to where the rocket is itself. So maybe if you zoom out a little bit, Denise, you can give us a sense from a geography-wise where we're sitting.
We are super close. So behind me, I have a map of Florida. You can see very clearly here we have Merritt Island and Cape Canaveral. If you go ahead and zoom in, I'll show you where we are right now. We are right now at Blue Origin's Rocket Park. This is where New Glenn is built, integrated, tested. This is where we're coming in live from our studio. And just a short 8 miles away, we have LC-36, where New Glenn is standing proudly, waiting for its first launch. You just heard from Eddie and a few of our employees. They're just here in Cars Park, and if you're lucky enough to be watching from either Jetty Park or anywhere up, down Cocoa Beach, you are gonna get a great view of the New Glenn launch tonight. So that's the lay of the land here. It just really goes to show you how the full operation of New Glenn is nearby.
And not only that, but New Glenn, the New Glenn operation is also right in the heart of all this great space history here in Florida.
So the Atlas II and Atlas III launches took place from here. The Mariner, Pioneer, and even Surveyor missions. They sent spacecraft to explore Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, and even the lunar surface. Here's some footage showing off the renovated launch pad that carries all that history.
I think I speak on behalf of everybody here at Blue Origin that it's just an honor to be launching a next generation vehicle right here on top of all of that history. And the launch pad is so close. I mean, I know we're going to hear it and feel it in this building. I mean, I literally would not be surprised if lights start shaking.
You know, from here, we can watch and hear just about any launch system that takes off from the Cape, and it gets loud. But we think this one, for New Glenn, may be one of the loudest ever. For one, the pad is just so close to Rocket Park, but also there's just the enormous size and power of those 7 first-stage BE-4 engines.
And we have been talking about that rumble for years, and I cannot wait. As a California girl who has lived through a couple of earthquakes, I am ready for this one. This is going to be awesome. Now, you mentioned a second ago, it's just so unique that the public is going to get such a great view of New Glenn launches, especially from viewpoints like, Jetty Park, Port Canaveral, Cocoa Beach. So many people gather to watch launches from these spots already. And wow, I mean, look, this is a live view. If you're sitting there right now in Cocoa Beach, shout out to you guys. You're probably sitting in a nice lawn chair with a cold beverage in your hand. That's what I'd be doing if I weren't here behind the desk with you, Denise. You guys are going to get to see and feel this launch with an insane view. So, other than maybe tripping some tsunami warnings, y'all are going to have a great evening.
There really is nothing better than a beachside rocket launch.
Well, and weather permitting, it's not just people down here in Florida. People in the region, kind of the southeast region of the U.S. You see this
Cynic
this
that's
image
possible,
right here. Look,
yes.
that's going all the way as
New
far
Glenn
north as,
can carry
North
Dream
Carolina.
Chaser.
Several states north are going to be able to see this launch during different phases of flight based on where you are. So a little bit of a guide here. If you guys are all still up, it's a bit late here on the East Coast, but this is an exciting launch. So shout out to you guys as well that are watching live from the East Coast. All right, everybody. We're
Thank
at
you.
T
No, they're not
33 minutes
overhyping it.
and
This is a
30
big
seconds
deal.
to go. And
This is
counting down
only the second
to our
company
launch
in
window
history
opening at
attempting to do
T-0
something like
for New
this.
Glenn's
It's a big
first
deal.
launch. Denise, I cannot believe I'm saying that. We've been talking about this such a long time. It's just wild. Now, again, this is our first flight. We have prepared rigorously for it.
Thanks so much, by the way, folks.
Our key objective today is to reach orbit
they
safely.
really do.
That in itself is a big deal. And anything beyond that is a bonus.
If that's what the
That
problem
said,
is.
we also know that landing the booster would be very cool. We also know that it is very ambitious to do this on the first time, but we're going for it. And no matter what happens, we are going to learn a lot, we're going to refine, we're going to apply that knowledge to our next launch and beyond. It is an exciting day, and we are so glad that you, our audience, is here to join in on all the action and all the excitement. Okay, while we've got a moment, we've got this beautiful rocket on the pad on our screen. Why don't we dive in a little bit deeper on New Glenn? Denise, our experts here, why don't we dig in, give our audience a sense of what sets this vehicle, New Glenn, apart from other launch vehicles, both
T-Bounce, here's the reason why chopsticks
Well,
don't
to
make
start, it's
sense. Just to be
massive.
clear.
Just over
Hey, producer, if we could
320
get
feet
them out for
tall,
just one
almost 98
second.
meters. And
You can't, putting chopsticks on a barge is virtually impossible, and utilizing the barge landing system is the best way to maximize the amount of payload that you can get to orbit, because you're recovering the booster much further downrange than if you were to recover it on the shoreline. If you were to put a chopstick setup on a barge, you're definitely going to have a little bit of motion. There's no way to avoid that because of the waves, and I don't see how you could actually successfully carry out a catch. And I feel that in order to maximize their launch capabilities at some point in the future, SpaceX will either have to have an oil platform type setup with chopsticks out at sea, or they're going to have to do landing legs at some point. Cindy, BO's yeah. Well, BO's lander beat Moonship. I'm assuming, Moonship, we're talking Lunar Starship. That's not the plan. Plan is for Lunar Starship to definitely beat, Blue Moon to the moon. That being the case, though, Blue Moon is supposed to be doing unmanned landings on the moon this year. So, and that's another big reason why this launch is so critical. Because New Glenn is what's carrying them. And obviously, there will be no unmanned landings on the moon if things don't go well for Glenn. So yeah, I mean, they are the other HLS solution. They are the other HLS provider, for better or worse. Um, NASA met with these two companies, SpaceX and Blue Origin, as their alternative to put humans on the moon. Yeah, we don't. If we run into any problems with Lunar Starship, this is our other alternative: New Glenn plus Blue Moon. So that's pretty important. All right, let's go ahead and let's bring these young ladies back on.
off from this pad in the past. I think there's another key thing about New Glenn, and it really is that reusability aspect. So while the scale of New Glenn is truly remarkable, I mean, this rocket is built for big things, supersized, with an incredible lift capability. But to do that in a way that's sustainable, using reusable hardware, I think that for me is the biggest innovation for New Glenn.
100%. Reusability. It is such a critical component of reducing the costs of future access to space. You just can't say enough how important reusability is.
And so New Glenn also has that second stage rocket, right? We talked about the first stage and the second stage, and rocket fans know this, but just like Saturn V or other big launchers, rockets fly in the first stage and the second stage, with the job of the first stage, or sometimes what we call the booster, to lift the vehicle from Earth up to space. The stages will then separate, and it's the second stage that powers our payload into orbit.
So here you see another cool overlay. Oh, you saw it just a moment ago of the Saturn V rocket. I mean, we are just about the same height, and the power of the two vehicles and the significance to be compared to that is amazing. And you know what? Our game plan, like Saturn V, our game plan is to use New Glenn to go to the moon too. I hope you host that webcast with me too on that one. Coming here shortly. So that's our orbital rocket in a nutshell. Now, while we've got a couple minutes to go here, we're at T-minus 28 minutes to go until New Glenn's first launch. Why don't we check in with our teammates over at Cars Park? Eddie, you there?
Yeah, hey Ariane, we're here at Cars Park. We're less than 6 miles as the crow flies to Launch Complex 36. We can see a great view of New Glenn standing 320 feet tall, the 2 vehicle access towers, one of the largest water towers in the world, and we are ready. Aren't we ready, team?
Quite the crowd down there, and I feel like it's grown exponentially since we saw you last. And not just current employees, but their kids and future Blue Origin employees are all out there psyched for this first flight.
We've got our New Glenn patch.
What are you hearing the employees talk about?
Well, so listen, we're looking forward to the rumble of the BE4 engine. We're going to hear it. We're looking forward to the blue streak across the dark sky. And we've got, you know, the flags, the emblems, the swag. We're very proud to be here. We're very proud to be sharing this moment with our community, right? The word that everybody keeps using tonight is grateful. How grateful we are to be here, how grateful we are for each other, and how grateful we are for the Space Coast that has accepted us.
So a lot of these folks have day jobs here in the factory, and you're not far from us, but describe the view you're getting. How is it different from what people will see from here at Rocket Park?
Yeah, we've got an unencumbered view of the launch pad of New Glenn. We'll be able to see that arc as Blue Ring heads on its mission, and we're very excited about that. The air is electric here. We're just buzzing with excitement, and we're thrilled to be here, really.
I'm not going to lie, I'm a little jealous that you guys are going to get such a straight-on view of the launch pad. Oh, not complaining. Denise and I have a pretty great seat here, too, but thank you, Eddie. We'll be checking in back soon with you there again down at Cars Park.
We've got one more chant for you guys. We're going to get loud for you.
Wow, I love it. I love it. You feel the energy down there. I absolutely love it. Now, one employee on the New Glenn team that is not down there with Eddie, and I do want to give a special call out to our program leader for New Glenn, Jarrett Jones. Jarrett has led the New Glenn program for years, and I'm very grateful to be able to call him a friend. He has a deep background in aerospace. There he is. And he's been instrumental through the build-up to today's launch. I mean, there you see him just a moment ago, and let's see. Can we point him out here in launch control? Yes, he is there, kind of that first row, bottom left. There you go, checking in, got his eyes glued to his screen, talking to one of our long-term core employees here. We got Mark Featherstone.
Where the hell is Jeff Bezos?
For a long time, and man, and you saw that image just a moment ago with him in front of the New Glenn. That was the day that we installed the 7 engines on New Glenn for the first time, and I'm pretty sure he is absolutely psyched. You also see the gentleman in the center of that front row in the green sweatshirt. That is Dave Limp, our CEO, who joined us just about a year ago. And man, talk about sparking some fire. It has been wonderful to have him on the team with us, and he is clearly absolutely dialed in. And last but not least, in between Jarrett and Dave, Jeff Bezos, our founder, who of course has been thinking about this day for many years. And I should also throw in a special happy birthday to Jeff. What a day. I wouldn't mind having a rocket launch on my birthday, but this man deserves it. So much patience, commitment, passion for what we're doing. It's just, we are very lucky, Denise, to have such a leadership team here supporting us at Blue as we go through all of these programs and getting them off and going. But at the middle of many of them and the core to making a lot of this work, New Glenn. That's why today is so important. Okay, everybody, we're at T-minus 23 minutes to go until launch. It is so great to have you all joining us for today's inaugural launch. We have folks tuning in from all over for this big day. And of course, we had Eddie and the team down at Cars Park. But we also wanted to give a nod to a couple special groups watching from across the nation. We've got employees tuned in at multiple sites, checking in and rooting for New Glenn. As I mentioned, not only do a lot of our employees work on multiple programs. There we go. We got Kent. We got Huntsville. I love it. Kent, of course, our headquarters. I see you guys. Huntsville, where we build all of our engines, our BE4s, our BE3Us. And of course, Blue Ring. You guys should be so proud.
Their team spirit. Oh, I just know that everybody here has worked so hard for this and cannot wait for the next 22 minutes. Hi, everyone.
And our team down in Huntsville, our beautiful engine factory. You guys are just the best, just the best. Well, you can see the passion, the energy. We have been working so hard to get to this point. All right, well, I can't complain about our view from right here. We have got a pretty sweet spot here, but I do want to go upstairs to our co-host, Maggie, who's up near Mission Control. Maggie, you there?
Here, and I have found a new place to hang out.
Wow, all right, so I know that not only do you get to hang out near Mission Control, but this for our audience gives you a sense of how close they are to just being able to go outside on the deck there. Tell me about this view that you get and that some of our VIPs are going to get tonight.
Yep, I am out on the balcony. We are on the 3rd floor of our rocket factory. And just out there, you can see the red blinking light at the top of our tower. So the launch pad is right out there. And then just to my left here is the mission control team. So you know when that rocket goes up, they'll be turning their heads briefly to the right. So we're out here. We've got some guests, VIPs, some of our Blue family inside. They're still in there while it's warm, but I expect to see more and more people headed out here soon.
Now, Maggie, I know you're able to also listen in on the radio with the team behind you. What are some of the things that you're hearing?
Sure. About this time in the count, I am hearing them going into their weather brief. They are making sure that everything is clear downrange. That's both the water and in the air. And I haven't heard anything thus far, Ariane.
Well, thank you, Maggie. So great to have you up there, keeping us tuned into all of the action. As we noted, we've got launch control and mission control right back to back. We'll be checking in again with you in a couple of minutes. Okay, we're at T-minus 19 minutes and 50 seconds to go until our targeted liftoff. So we're getting closer and closer. And we want to point out a few things coming up ahead in our countdown, because some of them actually come in a pretty quick sequence.
Yeah, so coming up, we're going to have a planned weather check. This is where our teams take one last look at the weather for launch today. This weather check validates that our trajectory is still on track, and the team will continue to close out any remaining open items that could be on their dashboard.
The very capable folks in launch control upstairs will undoubtedly be checking through closeouts over the next few minutes or so. And once we get through those, we'll start to go into some final vehicle checks. So do you want to walk us through those final vehicle checks?
Once we get to about T-4 terminal count, we're going to transition New Glenn into where our auto sequence begins. And the operation really becomes hands-off for our operators. We're going to be switching New Glenn to internal power, internal hydraulics, and things will move really quickly from there.
And then, as we approach the final moments, and just before we light the engines, there's this water deluge.
It's a huge water deluge. This is going to engulf the flame trench completely, which is going to protect our rocket from vibroacoustic and thermal loading. Finally, autopilot will be enabled. We'll flex the gimbaling engines, and then, well, ignition.
Game on, ignition. I cannot wait for that moment. So all of this is very exciting, even to just hear said out loud. I think there's also a very specific sequence for starting the first stage engines. And talk us through that, because it's not like they just all turn on at once. We got to be careful about how we sequence the engines igniting.
Correct. So you might think that we ignite all 7 BE4s at once, but that's actually not the case. We do something called a staggered start sequence. Engines 1, 4, and 7 will light first, followed by engines 2, 3, 5, and 6. Now, of course, these will happen in a very quick succession, but the staggering start really helps to decrease the sudden pressure on the whole system. There just truly is so much power in those BE4 engines. So staggering them creates a more smooth on-ramp for all that power.
Absolutely. And we talk a lot about
Yeah.
the rocket, but you can't forget the ground systems
Producer,
as well,
cut
right?
them out
So
real quick.
when we are essentially protecting the rocket,
Just to answer real quick, New Glenn will indeed carry a human-rated spacecraft, but that, of course, is the Blue Moon lander, the Blue Moon HLS. Currently, New Glenn is not scheduled to carry any other human-rated capsule, although theoretically it could carry a human-rated Dream Chaser in the future. It could carry a wide variety of spacecraft because of this massive 7-meter fairing that he has. By the way, a couple of folks have asked, who are these ladies, blah, blah, blah. These ladies are veterans from Blue Origin. The lady on the left who's been talking to us, who's been in their PR, head of their PR for years. Lady on the right, just because she's young and blonde doesn't mean that she doesn't know what she's doing. She's an engineer who's been working on this New Glenn program for a decade at least. Again, I don't remember their names because I'm terrible on names. Nevertheless, everybody that we've seen tonight is somebody who's been with Blue Origin for a long time and knows a lot about the program. So nevertheless, they definitely got their A game on the line today. So yeah, we will see what yes, the, the launch has just been adjusted. Yeah, 20-minute adjustment has just been made to the countdown, as I'm sure some of you may have noticed. We're now at just over 30. We are now just over 36 minutes, yeah, to lift off. Again, this is not surprising. Brand new rocket. And one thing that makes this different and the upper stage of Starship is we have different engines running off of a different propellant in the second stage of New Glenn, running off of hydrolox rather than methalox. And this works totally in conjunction with Blue Origin's philosophy of using hydrolox as much as possible in space because they correctly assess that in situ fuel is going to be a lot easier to produce in situ hydrolox on the moon or from asteroids than it's going to be to produce any other type of propellant. So that they are using hydrolox engines on the second stage of Glenn. They're using hydrolox for the engines on the Blue Moon lander, both the unmanned cargo version of that lander and the rated lander. All of them are using hydrolox engines with the objective of utilizing lunar ice, lunar water to produce hydrolox, in situ hydrolox propellant on the moon. And in my opinion, that's a good philosophy. By the way, it's also what ULA is doing with the upper stage of Vulcan Centaur, which runs off of Aerojet Rocketdyne engines that also are powered by hydrolox. So we have methalox providing the heavy-duty thrust that's necessary to get the rocket into space, and then you have hydrolox taking care of the rest of the job, simply because the raw materials for hydrolox are far more common in space than methalox. Methalox, however, not too difficult to produce on Mars. And they continue to emphasize this. Starship was designed to go to Mars. Starship was designed to be utilized on Mars, whereas New Glenn is designed to be used for the moon. So big difference in philosophies, and we see that with the design of these two rockets. I know I'm cutting out. We're just going to go ahead and bring Blue Origin's commentary back here.
To go until New Glenn's first launch. We are so happy to have you all joining us for this historic launch, both here in the U.S. and everywhere around the world. Denise, tell our audience, where are we up to in the preparation of our vehicle?
So right now we're completing a systems functional check for New Glenn, and this is critical because we're ensuring that all of our systems are operating nominally. We're going to verify propulsion, avionics, guidance, communications, and even safety systems. Our engineers are also running diagnostics on all the BE4s and BE3Us. We're checking flight computers, we're checking telemetry. We're also going to do one final comm check. This is really crucial because we want to make sure that we're getting the right data between the rocket and the ground, as well as verifying the signal integrity. Now coming up, we're going to do one last weather check. This is where we get real-time data on wind speed, direction, temperature, humidity, cloud cover, lightning, even thunderstorms. Not just for the LC-36 pad, but we're also checking the weather where the Jacqueline is, so that she's ready to receive our booster. So that is where we are right now. Things are going to move quickly here.
Thanks, Denise. And yeah, we should reiterate again, the weather, we got to take into consideration the weather here, but also downrange where the landing ship is, the Jacqueline. We've mentioned it earlier. Of course, that was one of the reasons why we need to take a little bit more time before getting to launch this evening. The sea state out there, it was a little rough. They were rocking and rolling. And we want to give our rocket the best chance of coming into land and sticking that landing on the Jacqueline. There is the Jacqueline ready to receive the first stage of New Glenn so we can take it back home, refurbish it, put another payload on top, and go again. But again, we should reiterate some of our objectives for today. The primary objective is to go to space, go to orbit safely. That's number one. And if we happen to land this booster, as we mentioned before, there are going to be a lot of people losing their minds, mine as well. So stay tuned for that. Now, Denise, why don't you go through a little bit more of the flow down there? So the Blue Ring team is up in mission control right now, also surely tracking their own checklist as they make sure the Pathfinder payload is ready to go to launch as well.
Correct, yeah. So upstairs at the MC, we'll have a launch control and mission control. So our launch team is the one that's doing all these system checks on New Glenn, while mission control is making sure that they're doing similar system checks for the Blue Ring Pathfinder.
Wonderful. And let's take a second and dig in a little bit more on that payload. The Pathfinder is a cool piece of technology, and really it's just the initial demo for a vehicle program called Blue Ring that's quite far along in its own development. And we mentioned this earlier, today's demo is a non-separating payload. This means the payload tonight is going to stay attached to New Glenn's second stage for the entire 6-hour mission. The other thing I want to reiterate about this, this Blue Ring Pathfinder is it's going to be testing a lot of the same technology, but it's not the Blue Ring itself. It's not the same form factor, but we're going to learn a lot from this evening. Now, what we want to, excuse me, I should say, as we talk about the Blue Ring Pathfinder, I want to reiterate that it's attached to the second stage, and it will stay there as it orbits the Earth. And that also is not normal, but we wanted to do that for today's demo mission. Now, today's demo mission on the Pathfinder is going to prove out some important components of our future vehicle, Blue Ring. And I get really excited. Clearly, I get so nervous I get excited talking about this. I love this program. It's one that I've had a hand in getting off the ground.
Okay, we've got audio just went off because of the situation with the copyrighted music. I apologize for that. There was a question asked about the size of Jacqueline. You know, I didn't actually keep this in mind. This is a big ass ship. This thing is 115.9 meters in length, significantly longer than a football field, and 45.72 meters, 150 feet in beam, with a depth of 6.7 meters or 22 feet. It weighs over 21,000 tons when fully fueled. Its dry weight is over 10,000 tons. The thing is a monster. Again, with a beam of 25.5 meters, and a draft of 7.4 meters. That's a big ship. Again, because it's a ship designed to recover a booster that's substantially bigger than Falcon 9, way, way bigger than Falcon 9. So it's a big ship. And again, that is what's necessary in order to make this work. What they're talking about with Blue Ring, by the way, Blue Ring is a very intriguing technology designed to relocate satellites to different orbits, to refuel them, to provide them with power if they're going dead. This is something that's very important to space sustainability as time goes on, something that's capable of moving satellites to different orbits, recovering satellites if they're going dead or if they're starting to fail, so that they don't become space junk, so they don't become dangerous to other spacecraft in flight. They're, it's a very important piece of technology. A space tug would be another way to call that, sort of a satellite tug, but a satellite refueling vehicle as well, a satellite maintenance vehicle. Very, very interesting. And again, they're only going to be deploying a Pathfinder. This is not a functional version of Blue Ring. If New Glenn blows up, it's not, even though it's a big rocket, it's not as big as Starship. The explosion is not going to be dangerous to anybody outside the exclusion zone, probably. But again, I would say anybody who's watching this, and I know that we have some viewers who are watching this actually in the Titusville area, I would recommend that you take cover if this thing does blow up on liftoff, especially if it's an explosion that takes place right over the pad, an airburst. But I find that unlikely. I think that New Glenn has a good chance of flying. BE4s have proven to be effective engines that haven't had any problems thus far with the two Vulcan Centaurs that they have launched. So I think things will go well with this rocket today, at least in terms of getting to space. We'll see what happens with that second stage. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and bring Blue Origin's audio back.
Radio waves to track the spacecraft's position and velocity. So basically, radiometric tracking uses radio frequencies to track where the vehicle is and where it's going.
So Blue Ring is going to be very busy during this mission. It'll be sending and receiving data, it'll be tracking its own location and processing mission data real time. And all of this will be communicated over RF to Atlas antennas stationed in Hawaii, the state of Georgia, and even Australia.
Yeah, these ground stations will collect telemetry and radiometric data, which is crucial for understanding how the spacecraft is performing and navigating in highly elliptical orbits in the MEO range. Now, this is unique because it allows the spacecraft to spend a significant amount of time over specific areas of Earth, making it an ideal orbit for certain communication and observation missions.
Launch window is open for 3 hours.
Part of proving how Blue Ring can navigate. All the data collected from this mission will be used to support the future production of the Blue Ring space vehicle, which undoubtedly will play a vital role in further space exploration and communication technologies.
That data and experience gained from this Pathfinder mission will be invaluable for our engineering team. It really does pave the way for more advanced missions. It helps ensure the reliability and the efficiency of future Blue Ring vehicles.
There you have it, folks. Now, Blue Ring Pathfinder is supported by the Department of Defense's Innovation Unit, or DIU, And let me tell you, we are so thankful for their involvement today. I should say they have been so supportive of our Pathfinder, but just the Blue Ring program in general. They are believers like us. So thank you to them. All right, with that, we're at T-minus 24 minutes and 3 seconds to go until T-minus 0. This is NG1, the first flight of New Glenn, and we are so glad you're here joining us this evening. Why don't we take a moment to talk about our mission objectives for the launch? This is our first flight, and we've prepared rigorously for it, but we also know that none of this is easy. And our key objective today is to reach orbit safely. Anything beyond that is icing on the cake, bonus points. We know that landing the booster on the first try offshore is ambitious, but we are going for it. No matter what happens today, we are going to learn, refine, and apply that knowledge to our next launch. We're really looking forward to seeing how the vehicle performs. As I said earlier, more data, the better, right? We pushed every single part, component, system in our testing well beyond its limits by design, but we also recognize that no amount of ground testing or mission simulations can replace the real-world conditions of flying this system into space, which is why we can't wait for the mission to get underway, see how things perform, and apply all the lessons learned to our next launch and beyond. It is an absolutely thrilling day. Again, we're so glad that you're here to share it with us. Now, with that, we're at T-minus 22 minutes and 30
right,
seconds
guys.
to go until
Let's go ahead
launch.
and
Why don't we take a moment and
if you can
check
cut
out
them out
New
real quick, producer. All right, guys, real quick. And once again, I am aware of the mic issues. I apologize. All I can do is do my best to try to communicate with you folks. There was a question asked about sinking the barge. It is theoretically possible, but we need to keep in mind that New Glenn, time it gets to the barge, it's almost out of propellant. It's down to the last drops of fuel necessary to carry out that landing, which means it has lost more than 95% of its mass. This booster has by the time it gets to the barge. The only thing that remains on the rocket that really weighs anything significant by the time it reaches the barge are the engines, those 7 BE4 engines. Other than that, it doesn't have a lot of mass left, and therefore it also doesn't have a lot of propellant in terms of exploding. It will definitely blow to tiny fragments if it lands incorrectly, but that's still not too powerful of a blast compared to the kind of blast that one would experience with a fully fueled rocket. And SpaceX crashed many Falcon 9 boosters into their barges in the early stages of their program. Their first launch, actually, Gwen Shotwell got so excited, jumping up and down and with excitement and glee when that booster hit the barge and blew up. And people asked, "What's your problem? Why are you so happy about that?" And her response is, "We hit the ship. We brought the booster back to Earth and actually hit the ship," which is something that she didn't think was gonna happen. She thought the booster would just plunge right into the ocean. And so many Falcon 9s smashed into many barges in the early stages, of this program, and of SpaceX's program without sinking any of these barges, certainly damaging them, certainly requiring some, repairs, but definitely not sinking them. Even though, New Glenn is much bigger than a Falcon 9 booster, the principle is the same. Still a very, very lightweight, um, rocket, very lightweight, with only the engines, providing any sort of significant mass. Other than that, it will be 95 to 99% empty by the time it reaches the barge, and I think it's unlikely, that Jacqueline would get sunk by a crashing, New Glenn booster, unless, of course, the New Glenn booster were to hit it at full speed without any deceleration, hit it at terminal velocity. that could do a lot of damage. So we'll see. This could be very interesting indeed. We'll go ahead and bring Blue Origin back at this point, bring their audio back.
Transported 8 miles over to Cape Canaveral Space Force Station and are assembled in our integration facility over there prior to launch.
And that's also, of course, where we integrate the payload as well. Just talking about customers a little bit, what have the various customers been saying about what they're excited about?
We're working with our national security customer right now on certifying New Glenn because they really need an additional launch system.
Right.
We're also working with our NASA customers. They've got a lot of interest in the size of our payload fairing, both for rideshare kinds of things as well as large telescopes and large instruments. Commercial customers are thrilled about our capability of bringing many small spacecraft
Yep,
to
we
LEO.
just had
We've already been
another
doing
hold,
some
guys.
integration
They just
precisely
pushed
with
the
these customers. How has that
ticker
process been
again,
going
or
with our
the
customers?
countdown
We
has
know our
been
customers
adjusted
make us
again.
better. So these customers, many of them have been launching different missions, different systems for years and years, and working with them to understand their needs, understand how we can adapt our system to best meet their needs.
So that's kind of the longer term work that you and your team have been doing. But let's get back to NG1 for a second. What have the last couple of weeks been like down here at the Cape?
It's not simple to take this whole system into a successful vehicle. I would say one of our best learning opportunities was our integrated launch vehicle, Hotfire.
Video was real.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Beautiful was awesome. Glowing blue is like a, all right, this is game time.
Totally, yep.
This launch, NG1, what are you most looking forward to? When it is go time, when the rocket lifts off, what do you think that's going to feel like?
I mean, I will say I love that final 4 minutes when we pick up terminal count and we're counting down and the room is super quiet, the energy, the excitement, the moment, and then feeling that lift off, seeing it on its way over the horizon, and then hearing that final call out that we have inserted our payload customer successfully into orbit.
They have
like
3 hours
just
on
an
the
amazing moment, and
on
I
the
can't
time
wait for it.
frame.
I know New Glenn's going to do it. It's going to be
They
a
still
great
have
day.
some time.
A big thank you to Laura again for joining for that quick tour through our factory right behind where we are this evening.
All right. So we're down to white noise, probably because they've said as much as they intended to say. At this point, they might be repeating themselves. So yeah, we've had several pushbacks on time, but again, a 3-hour window is my understanding is the amount of time that they have at their disposal. So we still have a fair amount of time available to Blue Origin to get this rocket off the pad.
Okay, we're at T-minus
So we'll see.
31 minutes and 6
I would
seconds
say
to
that
go
a
until
scrub
NG1.
is becoming
We
more and
continue to
more
tick down towards
possible
our first
given
launch.
all of these
I will
delays.
mention again,
Still,
you know, you
they
may have
have
seen we
time.
went down
They
and then we added some
definitely
more time to the
have
clock.
time.
That is just fine. That is our team taking a couple more minutes to make sure that all of their procedures are aligned as we tick down towards T-minus 0. So you might see a little bit more of that happening here. While we've got a little bit more time, why don't we talk about the flight profile for this evening's launch? What is that going to look like as we see this vehicle fly today?
You know, we've imagined New Glenn
Yes,
flight
Will.
for
I mean,
so
to answer your
long.
question, yes.
We've looked forward to this day, and I'm so excited just to see another vehicle of this size flying from the coast of Florida. We're going to be feeling the power of those BE-4 engines here in the studio very shortly. After liftoff, there are a number of important milestones in the flight that will be.
Yep. Okay. We just have some copy written music here at this point. Let me tell you about New Glenn's launch configuration and how things are going to go. New Glenn is heading into a very high orbit for this launch. This is not, they're not going halfway on this. I mean, they may not be going all the way to the moon, but nevertheless, this is definitely an ambitious orbital trajectory that they are pushing for. So obviously, we're going to have the liftoff and then the booster returning to attempt to land. significantly down range, but in terms of where it's headed to, we're looking at an apogee, an orbital apogee of 19,300 kilometers and a perigee of 2,400 kilometers. Even the perigee of the orbit is very, very high, significantly higher than traditional low Earth orbit flights, with a 30-degree inclination. Again, the reason for this is they want to demonstrate New Glenn's abilities. They want to demonstrate how far this rocket can go and the altitude that this rocket can deploy payloads to. And of course, this is a rocket that's going to be pushing at least in theory, an unmanned lunar lander all the way out to the moon this year. The unmanned cargo version of Blue Moon is supposed to be landing on the moon this year. So this is not just a simple let's head to low Earth orbit and orbit the planet once or twice and re-enter. It's more ambitious than that, and I'm glad we want to see ambitious from Blue Origin, given how long it's taken them to get into service, to get this rocket um, moving. So, and to get it off the pad. So, yeah, um, hoping, of course, that they can at least achieve the orbital trajectory that they have in mind. And during that time, they will also deploy the Blue Ring Pathfinder. It's not an actual Blue Ring, but it's a Pathfinder version of the Blue Ring will be deployed during this flight as well. So they're going to go to a high orbital trajectory. They're going to try to land the booster, and they're going to try to deploy a payload. That's actually several different ambitious objectives for the first flight of a rocket. Again, the sort of thing that we would expect to see with a fully mature rocket. Actually, what we're looking at right now in their animations, what they've been showing in their animations, is the cargo version of the Blue Moon lander. So yeah, very very interesting. This uh, launch plan for today's flight. And again, this is what we need to see from Blue Origin, given how long it's taken them to finally get this thing ready to go. Well, go ahead. Are we white noised over there, ESN, or do we? Okay. All right. So right now, we are theoretically approximately 26 minutes or so away from liftoff. We've had several uh, several changes in the liftoff time, several delays. They have a 3-hour launch window, though, so we are approximately halfway, just a little bit more than halfway through that window. So we will see if they can pull that off, if they can get off the ground today. Yes, a scrub is very possible, given how new this rocket is. Man, I'll tell you, that fairing is so huge. That that is, I mean, it's just a big rocket. It's almost as tall as the Saturn V. It's a big, big ass rocket. It doesn't have nearly thrust that Saturn V. The BE-4 engines don't begin to approximate the F1 engine's capabilities. But nevertheless, in terms of height, in terms of payload capability, payload volume, this is a big, big rocket. And yes, that's another good point. Breeden 62, nice to see you here, by the way, good Canadian friend. IFT7 is indeed on the calendar for January 15th. So we have a little time before that's going to happen. There's been several delays in that flight as well. Several delays in the seventh flight of Starship, which is interesting. But at the same time, I don't think that should surprise any of us, given the fact that in many ways, the Starship that's flying on this particular test is very new, much bigger. At least the Block 2 upper stage is much bigger, a lot more propellant, and just a little more payload capability. So yeah, I don't think any terribly surprised. Starship has experienced a number of delays as well. But yeah, very different rockets in terms of philosophy, in terms of how these are built. Blue Origin does not embrace this iterative design the way SpaceX does. You know, launch rocket after rocket, blow up test article after test article until you get it right. That is not their philosophy. They do things very much as NASA does it, very much as ULA does it. Design a fully mature rocket right from the start. So yeah, exactly. If this thing successfully flies, this will be a commercially operational rocket, and that's another reason why this is so important, why this is a critical launch, because this will take Blue Origin, at least in terms of capability, will catapult them ahead of SpaceX in terms of being able to launch the largest amount of volume on a reusable rocket. They will have capabilities beyond what SpaceX has until Starship becomes a fully operational rocket. That, of course, assumes that everything goes really well with this launch, which it very well might not. Both Vulcan Centaur second stage and Blue Ring, that's a very good point. Centaur 5 also has that capability, relighting engines, um, and using as a space tug. Very similar philosophies built into that same time, Blue Origin does not build the upper stage engines for Vulcan. Aerojet Rocketdyne builds the Centaur 5's upper stage. Is it an inherent conflict of interest? Maybe. I would say that there's a decent chance that these companies are going to compete unless Blue Origin buys out ULA. If they do that, I think that it will be only a matter of time before they shut down the Vulcan project completely. And I have said many, many times that I am not a fan at all, not a fan at all of Blue Origin buying ULA. I think that all that will accomplish is crushing a competitor. And I don't think we can do that because Vulcan has a lot of similar capabilities. Uh, that New Glenn does in terms of its ability to launch heavy payloads to higher orbits, to GTO, to geosynchronous orbit, and to the moon. Vulcan and New Glenn have very similar capabilities in that regard, with Vulcan having a smaller fairing, of course. Still, yeah, should be interesting. I have no idea what's gonna happen with the launch tower on this, Brood. I'm not sure. We'll see. Like I say, happy to answer any other questions. At this time, let's see, we're closing in on that 20-minute mark. Might actually, uh, we might be getting a lot closer to moving forward here. Fingers crossed. We're hoping, of course, we're going to have a successful launch and not a scrub. Um, Blue Origin is now a little bit more than halfway through through, um, through the launch window. So they still have a substantial amount of time to get this thing off the ground. They've spent a lot of time building this rocket. They've run into lots of challenges. They've had upper stages experience explosions inside their manufacturing facility. They've lost test articles. They have had delay after delay after delay. This is a company that if it didn't have the billions and billions of dollars that Jeff Bezos has at his disposal to keep feeding into the company, if they didn't have that, they wouldn't have survived this. They would not have made it. So yeah, again, also another design feature of this rocket and its launch facility, and something I agree with is the flame trench and deluge system. I continue to maintain that a flame trench is absolutely what you need to have, especially with a big rocket. You need to get the as much of that of the power of those engines away from the rocket in the launch facility to minimize that damage. And by the way, that is something else to consider with this upcoming Starship launch. Starship is going to be heavier than it ever has been before because of all that extra propellant in the Block 2. What does that mean in terms of the amount of power that to squeeze out of those Raptors? How long are they going to have to burn those Raptors at full power before they get it to the point to where it can lift off the pad? Are they going to have to keep it there a little bit longer as it cycles up? Again, it's going to weigh a lot more than it ever has before. And granted, that extra propellant will give it the capability of carrying more payload into space. But at on the front end, that's going to be a much heavier rocket to get off the ground. So it should all be very, very interesting to see how that shapes up here in a couple of days. Blue Origin is still right. There's still no volume over to the correct producer. Yep. Right. Right now, they're essentially right now they've had many delays, so there isn't a whole lot of commentary to have at this point. So it'll be interesting. I'll tell you, I'm very annoyed with Elon Musk right now, but in terms of I don't think there's anything inaccurate that I just said. There's nothing inaccurate that I ever say about Starship. I just always include any details that might have an impact on its future flight capabilities and the success or failure of any tests. Yeah, Elon's politics have been bugging the hell out of me lately, especially over here in Europe. But in terms of does that make me hate their rockets? No, absolutely not. Okay, let's bring a Blue Origins audio back.
You've joined us. Now, we have spoken about the wealth of experience in the New Glenn launch and mission control rooms upstairs, and I want to take it back to Maggie upstairs, who is standing by up there. Maggie, you with us?
Yep, Ariane, I am back at mission control, and as we make our way towards terminal count, the energy is high. It might seem like it's
wow,
quiet
thank
with
you,
everyone sitting
Robert.
down,
My
but the
God,
communications
thank you.
are,
Really appreciate it.
Ongoing. The launch director and his team are working super hard to get us there.
I love it. They're in the zone. So, Maggie, I'd love for you to talk us through some of the people behind the mission up there. Walk us through who's on console.
We've got some of our best and brightest here in the Mission Control Center. So the Mission Control Center is actually a network of rooms. We've got Mission Control, Launch Control, and engineering support rooms where our team is looking through data constantly. Now this whole team is led by our launch director. His name is Ben Dykstra. Ben is responsible for the launch, tip to tail. He is doing the go, no go, and making sure that we get our best chance of success. Ben actually comes from our New Shepard rocket. So Ben is a great example of how we take our flight pedigree from New Shepard and we are building it into New Glenn. Now Ben and I go way back. We worked on New Shepard together for quite a while, and I've had a chance to talk to him quite a bit this week. And I was asking him what his pre-launch traditions are and what he's bringing here to New Glenn. And he gave me a couple answers. One, he sets 3 alarms because he really does not want to miss his call. I have a feeling he didn't have to actually use all 3 of them today, but I'll ask him afterwards. And then he also sets little Post-it notes on the screens of his console mates so that they get a little funny note or a little encouraging thing from their launch director before they go. And then when we do terminal count, he will be doing his fist bumps with the entire team.
I love it. I know Ben is going to crush it. Why don't you give us some other highlights? Who else is supporting Ben with launch control today?
Ben is supported by a really large team, and we're not going to have time to touch on them all, but a couple here. First, we have Ann Dickey. Ann is the assistant flight director, and shout out to New Shepard again. Ann comes from that program as well. Now, Ann has been working the integrated schedule all week long, really making sure that this team is ready to go. And after we launch successfully, she is going to get herself an ice cream cone, and I will be joining her. Next, we have Martin De La Torre. Martin is a ground controller, which means that he will be working through all of the data and controls of our ground system out there at the pad. So as complicated as we all know rockets can be, the systems that are working around it are equally as complicated. And so Martin has a tough job today, but we know he's working hard. His favorite quote is from Stephen Hawking, and so he's got heroes, I think, like the rest of us. Next, we have Stephen Shelley. Now, again, you talked about the Jacqueline a little bit earlier. That's our offshore vessel, and Stephen Shelley is our offshore recovery lead. So as we go through this whole process, the team and the launch director, Ben, are constantly checking in with Stephen to make sure that we know that the barge is ready should we be able to land New Glenn. His launch day ritual is actually the same as Ben, another 3-alarm guy. So we'll be asking him as well. And then last, but certainly not least, we have Megan Lewis. Now, Megan is one of our 2 primary launch controllers, which means that she has control authority over a lot of these major systems on New Glenn. Megan is from Utah, and in a very sweet story, Megan is actually wearing a bracelet today that her grandfather gave her grandmother with charms for every Apollo mission that he worked. So a really incredible legacy of spaceflight in that family, and they're bringing it to the Blue family. So we're really proud of them today. Megan Lewis and team, led by Ben Dykstra, are getting it done.
I love it. Just some wonderful stories, and each one of them has their ritual. I'm glad that seems like their alarm system has worked, because yes, they are all on console and ready to rock and roll today. That's a good thing. So, hey, Maggie, stay plugged in up there for us, and we will keep checking back in with you. All right, everybody, we're at T-minus 11 minutes and 40 seconds to go until launch.
All right. Just let it go. So yeah, down to just over 11 minutes. This is getting real. Looks like we are finally going for it here. Tell you, I am super, super excited about the situation. And just to be clear, guys, you know what? Just because I don't like Elon being political, I'm just tired of it. That's all. I'm just tired of it. The guy post almost 100 times a day about things and stirs up people's anger. That's all I have. That's my only problem with it, not what he thinks. Not what he thinks. Okay. That's my producer made another thing. How does somebody as busy as Elon Musk get so well versed on the laws of every country and the affairs of every country? The guy has a very important job, and that is to reduce the spending going on in the U.S. I think that's what he should be focused on, because I like that. I like what his job is going to be here in the future. Anyway, okay, that's enough of that. But I just wanted to make it clear. It's not necessarily what he thinks. It's the fact that that seems to all be all he cares about anymore. That it's, that's, I mean, come on. Let's talk about Mars more often than European politics. That's what drives me nuts. Okay. So here we go. We are just under 10 minutes from launch. Things are looking super, super. It's just exciting. I'll tell you, I am beside myself right now because this is a very big deal. It really is. I mean, we've had one company doing this for years with nobody else even really trying, nobody else even really taking a shot at it. Now all of a sudden, we have a company that's gonna gonna take a shot at this, and I'll tell you, I am super into it. If we can actually get some competition in this arena, if we can get some competition in the reusable rocket arena, I think that that will hate Best Flight. Oh my God, did it just get pushed again? Getting pushed, getting pushed. That's quite annoying. Things were looking so good. Yep, we just went to 30 minutes again. Okay. We are going to be rapidly coming to the end of this launch window if this continues. We still have an hour left in the launch window. I'll tell you, we are running out of time. So fingers crossed, but I think that a scrub is becoming increasingly likely at this point, with just over 28 minutes to go now at this stage. But again, with an hour left in the window, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But I think that a scrub is looking substantially more likely than it was a couple minutes ago. The counter clock reaching 10 minutes, where I think the 10-minute point is a go, no-go pull point for this rocket. And I think we have a no-go from somebody at that stage. So we're not done yet, guys. We can still have a liftoff, but we got 1 hour left. So at this stage, if we have another push, I think this is our last 30-minute window that we can look at. If we get another delay, yeah, go ahead and bring them on.
Till launch. You may have noticed that we've added some more time to the clock. As we mentioned before, this is just our teams getting aligned, making sure that each of the separate sub-teams have all gone through all of their checklists, make sure that everything is in the green, making sure that the weather here at the Cape and downrange, everything is within bounds. So again, if we need to add a couple more minutes, that is quite all right with us. But while we've got a little bit more time, I would like to check in with my colleague, Eddie Seifert, out there at Cars Park, where he's joined by Team Blue Origin, here, our team that's based here in Florida. What you got going on down there, Eddie?
Yeah, hey Ariane, welcome back to the best seat in the house here at Cars Park. I'm with the Smith family. We're working at Blue Origin, and working on rockets is a family affair. I'm with father Mike Smith, son Corbin Smith, and granddaughter Elizabeth. Elizabeth, tell me, you've sent a postcard to space, is that right?
Yes.
And tell me, what was on your postcard?
There was rockets and planets.
Rockets and planets on the postcard. Now, Corbin, how did you get your start at Blue Origin?
So I first started up in Huntsville, where I worked with an amazing team on the engine crew, building BE4 and BE3U. Now I'm here down at Rocket Park, building the thrust structures for GS2.
Excellent. Must be special to be working on that GS2 rocket out there. And Mike, how about you? How did you get your start at Blue?
Well, it was my son that actually encouraged me to apply, and we got hired around the same time. And it's been awesome being able to work with him on different projects. We get to talk about work at home and do different things. We bleed blue at home.
Excellent, excellent. And Elizabeth, tell me, what are you most looking forward to today's launch?
For the rocket to go up in space.
Well, I think we're going to end on that note, Ariane. We're looking forward for that rocket to go to space. Let's send New Glenn to space. Let's light this candle.
I love it. It is a family affair, and I think I love seeing the different generations there, father-son pair working at Blue. I look forward to seeing that little firecracker, that little girl joining us in a couple of years here in the future. It just speaks to, It takes years to build these rockets, and that's what we're here to do at Blue. We're here to build these rockets that are laying the foundation for building the road to space, right? And so that children like her can pick up the torch and build on top of that. We're setting forth so that they can build infrastructure in space, and really, it's all for the benefit of Earth. Well, with that, thanks, Eddie, for checking in with us. We are
All right,
T-minus
folks, we've
24
gone
minutes and
back
10 seconds
to
go until launch. Let's check out
white
new.
noise. I think this broadcast has gone substantially longer than anybody that our broadcasters were anticipating, or at least hoping for. But yeah, I want to once again, I want to make sure I thank everybody for joining me tonight, or this morning. Actually, this has been a difficult time here, that's for sure. I've been up for hours now, did not get much sleep at all, in the anticipation of this rocket lifting off. Really hoping to hell that this thing does make it. So we'll see. I do in President Trump a lot of arguing about whether Elon should spend more time in politics or Mars. Thanks very much. Well, we'll see what goes on there. It's a daily circus, that's for sure. So we are now theoretically just over 23 minutes from liftoff. However, I've said that a number of times lately. We've gotten to this point several times during this process, and we've had delay after delay. So we are hoping that we're definitely hoping that we're going to get a lift off this time. It looks like we've run into a couple of little issues, producer, with the Blue Origin feed. Have you noticed that? We had a little time clock on the Blue Origin feed a couple of times. Not sure why. I think we're okay now. Right. So we got a little over, so about 22 and a half minutes or so from this liftoff, and really hoping that it goes this time, because we only have 55 minutes left in the launch window. And if we, I'll tell you, if we have a scrub, then they would. It's could be. I mean, they have clearance to launch at the same time every day for months. The FAA has given, because they're launching at a time when there isn't a whole lot of air traffic. Um, they have a lot of flexibility there. I would say if they have a scrub, they're probably going to have a couple of days wait at least before they attempt to get. It's going to be another early morning for us here in Britain. If we cover this again, certainly hoping that that's not what happens. Certainly hoping that this thing it does manage to get off the ground this time. But we don't have a lot of delays left in the schedule. With only 54 minutes left, just 54 minutes left in this launch window, and 21 minutes left on the clock. Another push to a half hour would really create would really put us at the very end of the window. And I would say that there's a decent chance that if they have to push it again, they're just going to go ahead and scrub. But we are, of course, hoping that we don't have a scrub. We're definitely fingers crossed for this. But of course, given how many years it's taken to get this rocket off the ground, uh, uh, Blue Origin definitely has the flexibility to let it go a couple of days, and to take another shot at this. So I would say that looks like we've got them coming back. Right now, we have just under 20 minutes. The clock is continuing to run currently. So far, things looking okay at the moment, but again, we've had so many last moment pushes that I think another one is indeed possible. But if that happens, then I would say that there's a very good chance that we're going to have a scrub. Let's certainly hope that is not the case. All right. Yeah.
To talk about the BE4 engines. We're looking at the vehicle right now. At the base of the vehicle, oh, that's a pretty shot right there. You see the 7 nozzles of the 7 BE4 engines. You want to tell us a little bit more, Denise?
Yeah, so New Glenn is powered by 7 BE4 engines. Now, these are the nation's first reusable, oxidizer-rich stage combustion booster engines. They use liquid oxygen and liquefied natural gas, or LNG, which is essentially a commercial form of methane.
Yeah, and we selected LNG because it's cleaner burning and more efficient than kerosene, or also known as RP1, rocket propellant 1. That's what a lot of rockets use. It's also low cost and widely available, which is really important when you're doing lots of launches, which is our intention for this New Glenn program. I should also note that we have done a ton of testing on the BE4 engine, and we also want to keep those costs down as well. All of it adds up, right? And one of the coolest aspects, though, about LNG is that it can self-pressurize its tank through a process known as autogenous repressurization, right? So this eliminates the need for costly and complex systems that use helium, which is pretty rare. So normally you got helium and other gases in there to push the pressures properly through the engines to get them ready to go. But with LNG, it basically does it on its own. That's what that means.
It's so fascinating. And, in terms of power, each BE4 engine generates an impressive 550,000 pounds of thrust. So when you combine all 7 engines, New Glenn produces about 3.85 million pounds of thrust at launch. And just to put that into perspective, that's roughly half the thrust of a Saturn V rocket, which took humans to the moon. Imagine that power of 200 Boeing 737 airplane engines all firing at once. That's what we're looking at here.
And that is a ton of power. You see that these images here, this video, this is from our test facility down in West Texas. And man, oh man, I have been down there actually for one of these tests. And our facility down in West Texas is in this valley, and it just reverberates. You feel like you're in the inside of a drum. It just shakes the entire valley, and I mean, it's just incredible. And we're putting 7 of those at the base of this vehicle. The other thing you should see in that video there is that it burns this really cool blue color. So that's another. I'm not saying that's why we chose this propellant, but it's a nice little bonus to it.
It sure is.
So a lot of power coming out of these engines, but then also a lot of interesting technology that's gone into the turbo pumps too. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
They sure are. So the turbo pumps, which pump fuel and oxygen, are also incredibly powerful. Together, they produce the equivalent amount of horsepower needed to power 2 Nimitz-class aircraft carriers at full speed. Yet each turbopump is small enough to fit in the back seat of your car.
Think about that. I mean, the comparison is crazy, but just think about that efficiency that goes into that turbo machinery. Then you also see here, obviously, the comparison between our BE4 engine. So there are 7 of those on the base of the vehicle, and our BE3U, BE3 upper stage engines, or 2 of those on the second stage. I want to talk a little bit more here. You see the comparison of the BE4 to the BE3U. You also have a comparison of the power of it as well. Both of these engines are highly sophisticated and have unique functionality built for New Glenn itself. So for BE4, as we noted, we've got 7 of these engines in total of the booster. We saw a cool image of that a second ago. The 3 middle engines are gimbaling engines that can pivot to help steer the rocket. So that will be working, of course, in conjunction with the fins at the top of the booster. Now, those 3 middle engines are going to relight to help with deceleration and landing burns. and the other 4 engines are fixed. And this is the combination that gives us both the power that we need, but also the flexibility we need for different stages of flight.
And you know, the BE4 engines are produced at our manufacturing facility in Huntsville, Alabama, and they're tested rigorously at our facilities, both in West Texas and Huntsville, to ensure they meet the high standards.
Yeah, and we should note there are 7 of these on New Glenn, but our friends at ULA with their Vulcan rocket, they use 2 of these engines. And those have already flown successfully to space. So we are very proud.
Guys, to clarify, this is not 35 minutes unless they did a reset. Did they? They reset. They did it again. They just reset, guys, to 35 minutes. Okay. Well, good news and bad news. The bad news is they reset again. Damn it. The good news is this is going to be the last one. This reset will take us to let's see, 49, about 10 minutes before the hour. So yeah, if we have another reset at this point, then we have a scrub. All I can think of is that they are maximizing the amount of time that they have at their disposal to give themselves a chance of succeeding here. But still, this has been a frustrating time, but not entirely brand new rocket here. So yeah, still quite frustrating indeed to reset to 35 minutes. I would say that the chances of a scrub are high. Well, I wouldn't say really high. I would give it probably a 65% chance of a scrub at this point, given how late we are in the launch window. But interestingly enough, since they set 35 minutes, the fact that that takes us to about 10 minutes before the hour, that suggests to me that they set that clock to give themselves the maximum amount of time left, with just a few minutes to spare in that launch window to actually go this time. So I think that they believe that it's still possible that they can get this thing off the ground within the launch window. I still think that it's worth it for us to hang out, but I would give it a greater than a 50% chance of scrubbing this stage, given this latest delay. So, oh yeah, let's have a poll on scrub or no scrub. That's a good idea, Anton. Scrub or no scrub? Those of you remember Deal or No Deal. Scrub or no scrub? All right, so we got the votes coming in, and they definitely we definitely have things hedging towards a scrub right now, and I would say that that's a realistic um, point of view at the moment. We'll see. That could change at any time. Funny, while I was thinking of Deal or No Deal. Mr. Beast just ran this huge monster contest with people from age 1 to age 100 in this contest that Mr. Beast did a few months ago. This crazy thing where he gave away $250,000, $500,000, something like that, and there's a part of it that was Deal or No Deal, right? They're doing like Deal or No Deal, and the guy who I was watching named Cody Ko, who's a famous YouTuber, he was doing his reaction to it, and he said, "Yeah, I love that show. I used to watch it with my parents and all that." I'm like, "Oh my god, you got to be kidding me! This guy in his 30s became a new father, and all that, and he was still he was still a school kid. That show was out, and oh my god, that keenly aware of just how old I am. Uh, so yeah, scrub or no scrub. We're approaching half an hour again. Um, yeah, I would agree. I would say that that Blue Origin will definitely scrub this thing rather than take any chances. They don't want to take a chance of blowing this thing up. It is their philosophy is not keep throwing away test articles. You pull up a test article, okay, now we know what went wrong with this test article, so let's build a better one next time. That's not their philosophy. Philosophy is to build something that works on the first attempt, and if it doesn't work on the first attempt, then you're going to there's going to be a substantial delay before they go again. They definitely do not have the same philosophy that SpaceX does. That rapid iteration is not something that that fits in their philosophy. For better or worse, for better or worse, that's the way they are. And that's a good point, Anton. SpaceX scrubs, they do it all the time, actually. SpaceX scrubs on a very regular basis, even on Falcon 9s that they've launched almost flawlessly hundreds of times. And yet they scrub the Falcon 9s and Falcon Heavies on a pretty regular basis. And they do that make sure that they can keep that really, really good flight record, that really, really good record that they have. Um, Sometimes you have to do these things in order to make sure that you get to space. That's why I always have these misgivings. I always feel less than convinced when we're talking about a rocket that launches several times a day. Um, I really don't think that that's gonna be likely anytime in the near future. I think launching the same rocket, once a week would be an incredible accomplishment. So, we'll see, but we're about 2/3 saying right now that we're gonna have a scrub. That doesn't mean we're gonna have a scrub, though, and again, I want to emphasize that given where Blue Origin set their clock, I would say that there is a decent chance that they're still going for this because they have it set up right now to where it's going to be about 10 minutes before the hour when the clock runs out. And that being the case, that gives them just enough time to ground. But there's no room for error at this stage. Not now. If there's another delay, then we're done. But fingers crossed. We're definitely hoping for a launch. Definitely, I've been up for I don't even know how long, hours and hours. Did not get much sleep in the anticipation of watching this. Interestingly enough, Vulcan Centaur had a nighttime launch as well for its maiden flight. Although there was definitely a an objective behind that. They were launching a moon lander, astrobotic lander that sadly did not land on the moon, ran into problems after deployment. Um, but still, the Vulcan itself did really well, but that was a nighttime flight because of the trajectory heading towards a lunar intercept, a TLI insertion, which again carried out perfectly, but sadly the spacecraft did not work. And now we have two more moon landers going soon. Bring them back.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We are at T-minus 25 minutes and 40 seconds to go until launch. You may have seen we've been adding some time to the clock. This is to allow our teams to go through their checklists. Keep in mind there are multiple sub-teams that are up there in launch and mission control. We want to make sure that everything
Tin
is
Man,
ready to go.
the weather is good in the Atlantic as far as I know. As far as I know, there's no issues whatsoever with Jacqueline. I don't think there's any issues there. I think this is all rocket related. And for all we know, this could just be, various folks involved in the go no go poll who are all trying to make sure that they're doing their job correctly and to maximize of time that they have to work on this, to triple check everything within the launch window. This all makes sense if that's what they're trying to accomplish. Trying to again, the more time they spend on this, the better the chance is that they're not going to trip over something, that there's not going to be a missed detail, a missed technical issue. Um,
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We're at T-minus 23 minutes and 45 seconds to go till launch. With all this action going on upstairs at Launch and Mission Control, why don't we check in with our friend Maggie? Maggie, you got me?
Loud and clear, Ariane.
Right on. What's going on up there? What are you hearing about the status of our teams?
Yep, things are busy. The team is continuing to work through a few anomalies before we can proceed into terminal count. So we've got the engineers looking at all that data. We've got the controllers working through workarounds. So something that I think people don't always think about is that we have an enormous amount of what we're doing here in pre-launch procedures that's, scripted, we can plan it. But when off-nominal things are happening, we've got a team of controllers who can manually operate these systems. So the team that we talked about in our last bit, they are actually going through and able to turn things on and off, put different pressure through different valves. They are working through everything they can to make sure that we have a chance to launch today.
Fantastic. Yes, it's, we run through, when you talk about all the preparation for a launch, of course, we talk about, testing the rocket itself, but we also go through a lot of these simulations in terms of the operations with our team. And you test as much as you can, you go through as many rehearsals as possible, but sometimes day of, you gotta put that's why we got the really smart people in there so that they can work through whatever it is they're finding that might be a little bit off, and that's what our team is doing up there. Maggie, what
Ariane,
else? Sorry, go ahead.
No, the team here has gotten some good practice. I think we all saw the hot fire that we recently successfully made it through. So that is, almost everything up until launch. Before that, we had a successful second stage hot fire. Those are those BE3U
Sounds
engines.
like we're running into some issues.
We were doing tanking tests, mass simulators. We've done component testing, system testing. And a lot of the engineers that are working in this room are actually responsible engineers on the floor. So they've gotten their hands on this hardware. They know their systems.
Excellent. Very good point. I think that I've always appreciated what we do here at Blue Earth. We tend to rotate our engineers. A lot of them, as you said, get to go down to the floor, see their hardware maybe that they've designed, talk to the men and women that are fabricating, but then also assembling the vehicle. They are.
All right, so once again, this is our first mention, the first mention that's been made of anomalies and workarounds. That being the case, we could have some issues coming up here. we could have some problems. And if that is indeed the case, if we've been running into if they've been running into challenges in this process, well, we don't have a whole lot of time to fix it. So fingers crossed, we'll see what ends up happening. I believe that when we come to that 10-minute point, that's the go no go poll. So if we get to that 10, we should it if there's a rescheduling at all, it's done. So once we get down to 10 minutes, if it gets past the 10-minute point, I would say there's a decent chance that the go no go poll, and who knows, they may tell us, they may have us listen in go no go. But if we don't, and they get past that 10-minute point, it is possible that we're going to see launch today. Again, I am not I'm not very optimistic, especially given the language that we've been hearing again. I'm talking about anomalies, talking about workarounds. Okay, well, we don't want a lot of workarounds in a situation like this. What they have to say now.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We are T-minus 19 minutes to go until launch here, and while our teams are continuing to get aligned, why don't we take a moment to chat a little bit about this amazing building we are in, the factory at Rocket Park here in Florida. This is where it all comes together, where we bend the metal on New Glenn. I literally see people down there bending metal, pulling, putting the components together, testing, cleaning. But also, not only do we talk about, just all the intricate pieces and parts here, but to build a rocket like this, the sheer scale of the facility here, this factory, but also the other buildings around here are just mind-blowing.
It really is quite impressive. So Rocket Park is essentially where we bring our rocket dreams to life. We're talking about state-of-the-art manufacturing and assembly areas designed to produce rockets efficiently and, of course, sustainably. This is where the stages of New Glenn come together.
Yeah, exactly. And the folks here at Rocket Park are not just building rockets, they're really shaping the future of space travel. I should say, I've had the good fortune of being here for 10 years now, and I have seen this facility, the whole park, in addition to Launch Complex 36, come together.
All right. Yeah, we have more copyrighted music. So, in any event, getting closer. We've had many, many delays at this point. Let's see if we can add up. Boy, I'll tell you, it's been a lot. One, let's see. Yeah, okay. How many reschedules have we had? One, two, three, four, five. Five reschedules thus far in this process. So yeah, it's a little frustrating, but at the same time, you're now down to under 17 minutes. So we'll see. They definitely cannot afford another rescheduling. We'll have to scrub if they aren't able to move forward at that point. So fingers crossed. We'll see what ends up happening here. Definitely want to see this thing get off the pad. We all understand how space flight works. At least those of us who have experience in following space launches on live streams, and those of us who have been fortunate enough to watch these things in person, these things get scrubbed. The technical issues happen, and it is much more important that you get the rocket to space successfully than to get it to space by any particular time frame. Timing, although important, although you want to, get your rocket into space as early as possible and to not have any more delays, the fact that Blue Origin has experienced as many delays as they already have. But at the same time, you blow this rocket up and you already need this thing, and that will be a huge, huge blow to this company, a huge blow. They cannot afford well, they can afford it given how rich Jeff Bezos is, but they are too far behind game in the competitive spaceflight arena as it is, and they are trying to compete for very important and very valuable military contracts. They have contractual obligation with Artemis, lots of very important develop or rather important tasks for this rocket to carry out that simply aren't going to happen if this thing blows up on the pad today. It would be a very, very significant delay in New Glen's development if they had a nasty anomaly today. Certainly hoping that that doesn't happen to them. I've been mean to Blue Origin over the years. I really have. And it's just because, they've wanted to be treated as an equal, to sit at the big kids table, even though they've never been to orbit. In my opinion, you don't deserve that, and you've accomplished something today that could change everything. All right, let's bring them back.
The physical proximity is really, really important, and it's not known actually, but historically rockets have launched out of the Cape, but they haven't been built here. And so to be able to build our rocket here, do the integration here of the rocket, but then also obviously the payload with the rocket. And then when we get GS1, we get the booster back, we'll be doing all of the refurbishment here. That is so important, that co-location, to have that all come together. And, I love that video because you see all the action. As I mentioned, it's so funny. I was looking through photos earlier today, and I've got photos in the flame trench when they were just putting it up. They were pouring concrete. I remember being in this facility when there weren't doors on. It was just, dirt on the ground. I remember no joke, we had a poll when they were clearing the land for this rocket park as to how many turtles we would find, because we have to relocate all of the turtles because there's incredible wildlife in this area. So of course we wanted to make sure that we protect those animals and the wildlife. And so we had a poll as to how many turtles we were going to find. God, I wish I could remember.
I was going to say, do you
remember?
I
know. I didn't win it, clearly. But, there's just so much work that went into building this facility from the ground up. And to be here today is just, it feels surreal in many ways. And, that I was just talking a little bit about the factory itself, but the launch complex, LC-36, as you touched on earlier this evening, has been around for a long time, has been where many historic rockets and missions have launched from. And we basically stripped it down to the ground and rebuilt it for this world-class rocket for decades to come. We invested in this facility knowing that we're going to be here a while. With that said, we also here at Blue Origin like to pay homage to the giants who have the shoulders upon which we stand, right? Like the vehicle, of course, is named New Glenn.
This could be it, guys.
But also, what's really cool is,
all right, we're checking.
And you can't quite see it here.
Now,
in the
wait
dark,
a minute.
But we kept what's called the blockhouse. So, a lot of the previous.
Yes, we have another pushback now, guys.
Launches,
we're waiting for 100% confirmation on this. I don't see how they're going to be able to launch with another pushback like this. I don't see why they bothered to put 38 minutes back on the clock, because they're outside of their launch window. hold on. Window opened at 6. We're right. Guys, we still have another hour. The blue I I got confused by the between the time that Blue Origin was supposed to go live and the start of the launch window. All that has reset. So guys, we actually still have a possibility of seeing a launch. We're not through the entire window at this point. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and go offline and just take a couple minute break here. This has been a difficult time for me to stay awake through all this. So I'm going to take a little break, but we're going to continue with the Blue Origin stream in the I'm still waiting. Ba, 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 da. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
Welcome back, everybody. We're at T-minus 31 minutes and 30 seconds to go until launch. As you may have noted, we continued to add time back to the clock. That, of course, is to make sure that our teams are aligned. I do understand that we're working an issue. That is okay. That means, if we're adding time to the clock, it means that the team thinks that there might be a possibility that we can sort it out so we can get to a launch this evening. So we're going to give them the time that they need. Beautiful beautiful view of the vehicle on the pad there from the outside. She sure.
We got to cut that out. All right, so that takes care of more copyrighted music. But I can tell you a little bit about their objective, their goals. Blue Origin wants to export heavy industry, to export destructive human activities off the Earth, and put all of this into space. Um, we're talking manufacturing and orbital facilities. We're talking mining asteroids and mining the moon instead of mining here on Earth and all the destruction that brings. So yeah, did they just extend the time again? Looks like they did. Oh, okay. So where's the 30? We're still at 30 minutes. Yeah, we're all right. We don't have an extension yet. Oh, I still got that Talking Heads song stuck in my head. For those of you who are Talking Heads fans, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. Facts are simple. Facts are straight. Facts aren't lazy, and facts aren't late. Facts don't come with points of view. Facts don't do what I want them to. Oh God, you can tell how exhausted I'm getting now. Um, Alrighty, folks, we are now under again. I have to admit, the way they've been doing this has been a bit frustrating. This constant resetting. It I don't know. Again, I think it just seems a little different the way other companies do it. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure it's not different at all. It just feels that way. Up, we got more copyrighted music still going. So again, the another objective that Blue Origin has in mind is their idea of manufacturing solar panels on the moon. They've already actually demonstrated how they could manufacture solar cells out of lunar and then deploying them into uh, orbit. Orbital solar facilities generate far more power than solar panels on the ground. So that again, we're talking about mining, we're talking about power generation, we're talking about exporting so many damaging things that exist on our planet out into space. It's a great idea, but unfortunately, because of all of the myriad delays that Origin experienced in getting New Glenn off the ground, um, their their goals have kind of faded into the background. It's difficult to take them seriously. Given how long it's taken just to get their first rocket off the ground. How can you aspire to these sorts of these huge objectives, these colossal things. How can you aspire to that if it's taking you this long to launch the first rocket? This is the moment where it could all change, though. This is the moment where New Glenn gets into orbit, where where Blue Origin becomes a serious competitor in flight, where Blue Origin starts to accomplish the things that they want to do. So it is possible, but at the same time, it's they have a quite a lengthy road ahead of them that they are moving very slowly, step by step, ferociously, but way too slow to accomplish the ambitious goals that they have. They definitely need more. Yep. Yeah, I definitely could use some sleep, Don. No question about that. My head's spinning at the moment. Maybe I should just stick to the talking heads. Um, so just keep hanging in there. Let's see. Hold on. We might have. Oh, yeah, they've still got copyrighted music at the moment. So, yeah, and then the other things, the long-term objectives that Jeff has in mind are things like, um, massive orbital facilities with artificial gravity, with thousands and thousands of people living in orbit. Again, producing, heavy industry, like what you just may have seen, these, I'll tell you, as tired as I am, I keep forgetting what these things are called. These vast cylinders. Um, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, O'Neill cylinders, thank you. O'Neill cylinders in orbit, with artificial gravity, even these massive natural ecosystems existing in the rotating, facilities. O'Neill cylinders are something that has been theorized and talked about for many decades. It's only recently that Jeff Bezos has been talking about making them a reality. Instead of putting humans on Mars, he wants to put humans in space and to provide them with a full 1G worth of artificial gravity on an O'Neill cylinder so that humans don't have any deteriorating muscle mass, bone deterioration, that sort of thing. If in an O'Neill cylinder city, space city, you could do all the things that you would want to do in space on the microgravity parts of the station, and then for the habitation areas of the station, the habitation rings, all of those would be in full gravity. So it's a great idea, and it requires a rocket with a big payload capability in order to build something that ambitious into orbit. Very, very difficult indeed, to build something that big. But New Glenn is the type of rocket that could make that happen if it was launching hundreds of times a year as opposed to once every 10 years. Um, so, uh, Blue Origin's got a long ways to go. They definitely need to get New Glenn off the ground, and then they need to rapidly increase their cadence. It's very indeed. Elon had anything to do with Trump's pick for NASA administrator. Flash, he 100% had something to do with it. He made it happen. No question that Trump wouldn't have made the choice that he did if it wasn't for Elon. And I think he made a good choice, by the way. I think it was a good recommendation. Take me to the river, drop me in the water, water. Oh, yeah, and we got the orbital reef. My God, we've been talking about that forever. Orbital Reef has been a Orbital Reef has been a space station that Blue Origin's been talking about for a considerable amount of time. It's a replacement for the International Space Station, and it's a collective effort between Blue Origin and Sierra Space. Problem is that we haven't seen a whole lot of progress being made on it on the Blue Origin side of the equation. Instead, 90% of the progress has been made on the Sierra Space side. The Sierra Space inflatable modules. The design is to have a big spinal section of the space station, which will be deployed by New Glenn, that about 6.5 meters in diameter. This big spinal column, and then attached to the spinal column of the space station are the big inflatable modules that are 9 meters in diameter. These very big space station modules, which are built by Sierra Space. It's a very ambitious space station, and I think a very good design for a replacement, a very good design for a replacement for ISS. But the problem is, we haven't seen a lot of progress from Blue Origin, and we haven't seen a whole lot of collaborative talking between Sierra Space and Blue Origin. Not a lot of discussion between these two companies to talk about their shared vision. And so that's what makes me wonder if this is gonna happen or not. Let's go ahead and bring Blue back.
These really cool, pieces of space technology, not only just for one country, not only for one hemisphere, it really is for the entire world. And that's why, I love that that our company has this bigger, broader vision. Actually, before I took my current role, I was leading our commercial and international sales, and it was just really nice to get out there and talk to our international customers and people from around the world in the space industry. I should say big shout out to them out there if you guys are watching, and really talking to them about whether it's New Glenn or Blue Ring or our lunar lander, what they can do and how they can take advantage of our technologies. I just love that we think broadly like that, and it's one of the many things that's kept me here at Blue. But I also want to talk, obviously a main theme of that video there is this idea that as part of the long-term vision, we really need to protect this planet, and the role of space technologies, what we're doing at Blue and what other organizations are doing around the world is so important because it is going to help protect Earth, right? And that's also why we start with reusable rockets and reusable rocket engines, and the way that we're designing them to run on propellants that are less harmful to the Earth, like liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen, and LNG. We were talking about that earlier. It's just so important.
It gives me such a sense of pride because it really is about the everyday work that we do now and how that would impact future generations. So all of this is going to create a longer term impact on Earth that's truly going to benefit humans for future generations. By focusing on the sustainability of our designs, we're really ensuring that our advancements in space technology do not come at the expense of our home planet Earth.
Yeah, a couple of minutes ago, we threw it back to our co-host Eddie out there at Cars Park, and again, talking about the multiple generations, how cool is it that he was there with the father-son pair that both work at Blue, plus the son's daughter that's there, and she's just going wild over space, and she can't wait to see this rocket launch. We have to think in that sort of generational. That generational time scale, right? There was also, our teammate that's up in launch control, whose grandfather worked, on Apollo, and here she is, you can see she's pregnant in the photo. Like, who knows what her child is going to end up doing? And hopefully, what we're doing here at Blue is going to benefit, again, these next generations. We're building the road to space with these first initial steps tonight. New Glenn. We're also talking about Blue Ring. Blue Ring is a one of the first building blocks of the infrastructure that's up there in space, right? It's not just about the transportation, which is crucial, don't get me wrong, but then once we're up there, we're going to need to support others, in this case, our customers, but also ourselves, when I say ourselves, Blue Origin and some of the missions we're doing, as we build our capabilities out there. By definition, space is infinite. And so if we can take advantage of that, and if we can put things
thank
up
you
there that
so
will
much.
help us
Really
take advantage of
appreciate your
that,
support, your
I mean,
first ever super chat. I'm honored.
for
Thank
the
you
benefit
so
of Earth,
much.
the future
Really
is bright.
appreciate it.
Okay, with that, we
Makes
are
a
T
big
minus
difference.
16 minutes and 40 seconds to go until.
All right, so here we go. Back to gazing at the same rocket, watching the same rocket that we've been watching for hours now. Hoping to hell that this will be the last time we watch this timer go down, going in the back of our heads that there's a decent chance that we might have yet another reset because I miscalculated on the I thought we were almost at the end of that 3 hour time frame when we really were. So in any event, we could have another delay at this point. Probably not much beyond that, but nevertheless, we could have another delay fall within this 3 hour window. Oh man, I'll tell you, this has been a greater labor of love than most of the launches that I've gone through recently. Probably because I'm still getting over being sick. And I feel 90% recovered, but I'll tell you right now, I'm definitely feeling it. I'm definitely feeling that I'm not quite as well as I thought I might have been. But I am here with you folks for the duration. We're getting close all the time. Boy, Festinus is just loading us up with super chats. Thank you. Thank you. Your third super on the stream. Man, thank you, Festinus Gaius. If that's how you pronounce it. Boy, that support is huge. It makes a big difference, I'll tell you. This is hopefully going to be a busy year for me. Heading to Australia in October. That's the plan anyway. The IAC convention, and I would like to stay in Australia for a month. I would like to go and visit all of my viewers. I have thousands, tens of thousands of viewers in Australia. I'd like to go visit. I'd like to go from one end of the continent to the other, and New Zealand too. That's a tall order, let me tell you, but I'd really love to be able to do that. We are down to 14 minutes. Uh, uh, dare I get optimistic? Faustinus, another super chat. Boy, I don't know what's motivating, but thank you so much because I'll tell you, the help that brings this channel is colossal. Thank you, Faustinus Gaius, for your ongoing help. Jeez, it's huge. Just huge. Makes a big difference to my ability to keep this channel running, to do what I do, to travel to various destinations, to bring you unique content. For example, the time that I spent a month in Shetland covering what was happening there. A month in Shetland. That was big. That was a that was quite a time. That was getting accustomed to. Boy, Venus Gaius, another 5 super chats. Venus Gaius has thrown our way. Thank you so much. It's just amazing. Thank you. Really, really appreciate your help. It makes a massive difference to this channel. Yep, I don't intend to go anywhere. I'm here for the duration. I'm like I say, running out of energy. That's for sure. The dawn has them up here in Britain. Matter of fact, I'm going to take a second and open the one. They're resetting. They're resetting. The counters disappeared, meaning that they're resetting or they're scrubbing. Here we go. They just set the timer. Well, let's see where they're gonna go to now. I think there's a very decent chance that we've got a scrub here. Waiting for an official. We're waiting for an official notification at this point, but we have no timer now, and that would not surprise me given the number of delays that we've had in the countdown. Right now, we have no timer at all. That strongly suggests in my mind a scrub. Hard to say for certain. Stinus Gaius, my god, there was a huge support coming in at the end there. My god, just enormous the amount of support I've received from Stinus Gaius at the end of of this long stretch. I'll tell you, it makes a huge difference. Huge difference. Thank you so much, man. Oh, no. Oh, no, my god. I don't want you mistakenly giving me money, though. Well, thank you. I mean, I know it's made a huge difference, but still, wow. Um, I'll tell you, intentional or not, it helps the channel. I'm glad it's not doesn't bother you. Yeah, thank you. Tell you, it makes all the difference in the world. Alright, we still have no then it doesn't look like they're venting, although, I don't let's see. They're not venting the rocket, so we might I mean, I'm thinking this is looking like a scrub, but we have no notifications and no timer reset. The hell? Yeah, yeah. They might be debating. Okay. We have no notifications from Blue Origin at all. Many of the but they don't appear to be. Faustinus, whether this is intentional or not, thank you. I mean, you are helping this channel in such a huge way today. In such a huge way. Thank you. They're venting out the propellant. We would see it at both on both stages. So I don't think they've done I don't see visual evidence of a scrub. It still just more looks like the rocket sitting on the pad, but they may just be having a conversation on it. Thank you, Faustinus. Thank you. I please try boy, I wish you could clarify how what you're trying to do here, because man, it's okay, no mistake, no mistake. Alright. You man, I'll tell you, you're just been a hero to this channel, a hero. Thank you. Alright, so we still have no timer. Could they be playing a game here? Could they be messing with us? Because yeah, Elon Musk broke the timer. Elon Musk was trying to sabotage the timer, and he just broke it. Boy, this is weird. All right. Still got nothing. This is very interesting. Maybe they just got tired of resetting the timer. Like we'll lift off when we're ready. We've got 52 minutes left. We'll hit the button when we're ready. We'll catch everybody by surprise. Just abruptly say, "Up, 3, 2, 1, go." This is very interesting. I mean, we should see a propellant detank, and we're not seeing that. I'm seeing no detanking, which is exactly what we should see during a scrub. So what the hell is going on? I was so much good. It's funny. Nope, there's no audio coming from Blue Origin. No, hold on. Detanking. Here we go. They're done. Yeah, wasn't terribly, not terribly surprising given the circumstances. I mean, we were already hitting it. Go ahead and cut them off at this point, please. We were hitting at the point to where things were looking very unlikely given the launch window and given the number of delays. It just was not looking that ideal. And with every delay, the chances of the scrub continued to increase. And about 2/3 of the viewers agreed that the scrub was what was the most likely scenario to take place. This, again, should shock nobody. This is a brand new rocket, having been built by a company that does not believe in rapid iteration. And blowing up a test article is not how they do things. So as a result, they need to uh, they need to get it right. They need to get it right the first time. And so here we go. This is what happens in these kinds of circumstances. This is space flight, and it can be a frustrating thing. I'll tell you, for me, beyond exhausting. At the same time, I hope that it was at least informative for you folks. I hope that for those of you who weren't as familiar with Blue Origin's technology, as familiar with New Glenn, as familiar with Blue Origin's philosophy behind their company, I really hope that that at least was helpful to you folks today. So I do uh, definitely regret what happened, folks, but at the same time, I'm glad that we were all here to experience it together. So I will, of course, keep you up to date as to when the next launch attempt will be taking place. Also, I will be here with you for the seventh flight of Starship and I'll be heading to my producer's place for that to fix these audio issues. So thanks again for joining me today, and until next time, stay angry about space.